talking about migraines and driving.
When I got to the gig, I was sick. And then you think, well, that's it, I've been sick now. And then it was on the way back. I just thought, and I'm on like country roads going back from Windermere. And I pulled up at the next village and rang my mum, and she was like, what exactly would you like me to do? And I was like, I don't know. You're my mum.
I see you love his mum. Give us some reassurance. I know what it was. The kids went, right?
Did you got the time to practice the accent?
No, I didn't. No, because I tried, I tried to do it in my head, and I was like, I cannot even do it in my head.
Go on.
So the kids went, have they got a Greg's in Scotland? And I was like, yeah, it's called Greg's. I mean, I got a laugh from the missus, so I was like, it can't be that bad if I got a laugh. But it was just timing wise, I just went straight in with it. I'm like, because it's all about timing. As you well know with comedy.
I mean, that's perfect timing.
No, but I butchered the delivery. I should have just said it normally, and then she wouldn't think I'm a creep.
Do you know before when you came in? It's pretty on my mind. So you got the name wrong straight away.
It's just I don't know why I had a different name in my head.
What name would you want people to call you if they got the name wrong?
My name wrong. It's really tough because...
Like, do you have like a fetish name? No, like a sort of exotic name that you'd like to be called?
Name.
When I was a teenager, I used to play championship manager when I was a teenager, and you'd put your like a fetish name in, like what you wanted to be called. Did you ever have that?
No, I don't think I have, no. It's like...
What, you just always like Daniel?
Computer game name? No, I've never liked Daniel.
Computer game name? Yeah. Good thing, that. What's a computer game name?
Computer game.
I had a Pokemon Go account, and it was Pog, because I once said pig wrong and it stuck as a nickname. My name became Pog for ages, because one time I misspelled pig. Yeah. Pog.
What, via other people was calling it Pog as well?
Yes. I didn't massively love it, but I was like, I'm sure there's worse things.
There is worse things. It's like, when someone picks on you at school, it's like, if it's something like just your name, you're like, oh, thank God for that, because it could be something else, couldn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what your computer name is.
I don't know, I can't kind of think. I don't know.
Mine was really pretentious and quite embarrassing.
I don't have a computer name, but the name Clarence keeps coming in, but I'm thinking of
Clarence?
But Clarence Worley.
I was thinking about Clarence.
Of True
Clarence
Romance.
the Lion.
True Romance. Have you seen True Romance?
Nah.
Oh, come on.
Nah.
Oh, you're a big film buff, or not?
Well, my ex-boyfriend was a big film buff. I was just talking about this the other day. Him and his mates had a scoring system out of 40, which immediately annoyed me.
40?
I was like, make it 50.
That's quite...
Make it 50.
Isn't it? Scoring
I
number.
was like, out of 40, but there was 4 different categories. I can't remember what the categories were. And each of those categories had 10 points. So anytime they went to see a film, they would put in the group and be like, that was like a 38 out of 40. That was... So, like, it was very sweet. I really liked it. But I started to realise from going out with him how few films I had seen. So he'd bring up all the classics and I'd be like, nah. And he had a massive list on his phone. But unfortunately, the breakup occurred before we could make even a dent in that list, to be perfectly honest.
Well, today we're going to spend an hour going and reinventing that list. Number 1. Have you seen Goodfellas?
One of the big ones was Shawshank Redemption. So when I watched that for the first time, I was like, okay, I get it.
What did you give it out of 40?
I would have given that a solid... I can't remember what the categories were, but if I was just giving it a rating out of 40, I think nearly perfect.
Right,
nearly perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of up there with everyone's favourites, the classics. So, but there is a roster of classics. I would say True Romance. I would say Leon. I would go Terminator.
Terminator's a classic.
Yeah. I like
We're going to go down a rabbit hole now.
Yeah. go down a rabbit hole. But I was going to say, because you're not a film buff, what films in the past? Because usually we go back to like the past 30 years.
I haven't ever done films before.
I think we've done this once. What film in the past 10 years slots into that top 10? Because it's a difficult one to knock one off the top from 30 years, a new one.
But then it is also horrifying when you realise what 10 years ago was. Because in my head, I'm like, 10 years, so like 2010. And then I'm like, no, 2016. No.
Oh, right, 2016.
That's recent.
That far away, is it? It's like it's a smidge before
That's when I got my dog.
One.
What do you think about it like that? 2016,
yeah. So how old were you back then?
22.
Okay.
Because this is, it's 10 years next year since I got nominated in Edinburgh for the first time.
Oh, really?
And I was like, no, it can't be. I can't be that old.
Right.
That can't have.
So what's that been like? What was that like at the beginning of winning that, and then what's it like now to be 10 years in?
It was a weird time because I felt like I love what I do, but I was aware quite strange to start it as young as I did. So like my mates would be, you know, going out for Freshers Week or planning holidays at uni, and I was like, I'm going to the Fringe. I'm going to do a gig in Derby. Like I went like balls to the wall quite young. But then it got to a point. I moved to London when I was 22. Yes, 10 years ago, 2016. And I remember just thinking when I moved, I was like, I do feel like I've not had a really normal, like my mates have gone travelling and my mates are backpacking and I'm like trying to make this comedy thing work. I was like, is it worth it? And then I got nominated in the 2017. And in that following year, I went to India, I went to Istanbul, I went to New Zealand, I went to Australia, I went to Canada. And I thought, I've played the long game. All them dickheads have paid to go travelling.
Exactly. But when did you start performing though? When did you start writing and gigging?
So I did my first proper gig in 2012. I used to do stand-up at the Youth Theatre at Live Theatre when I was like 15, but it was very like, you are telling some very safe jokes in front of the pair. It didn't feel real, but it definitely...
You were 15
15, yeah.
So
definitely got
did it just come naturally to you then? Were you just a funny kid at school?
You know, I know it's like a cliche, but my family, I think, big on... And I didn't realise how funny my family went. I know, like, when you meet other people's families, and you're like, oh, you don't... you don't make a joke
you
about
think you're normal till you walk in someone else's house.
What do you mean you're not candidly talking about your bowel movements? Like, what is this? What is this family? But, like, I vividly remember I was never off school sick much when I was a kid. I've got this real memory of being off sick. My mum must have been at work. And my dad put the Jolly Boys out in the Only Fools and Horses episode on.
Episode.
And I remember it felt like, because I knew my dad loved Only Fools and Horses, and it felt like such a treat. I was getting to watch my dad's favourite programme. I had the duvet on the sofa, and I was like, this is the best day ever. And I think just being sort of maybe like subtly exposed to like Billy Connolly and really good stand-up and like programmes like The Royal Family from being... I always remember being funny at school, but not thinking that was... It was at an age where, you know, being funny wasn't cool. So I would sometimes be a bit sarcastic or a bit whatever, and you could see people being like, what you doing? What's just... And then you get older and you're like, oh no, I was just funny, and they didn't get it. Some people still don't get it now, but like more people seem to have caught on. So yeah, my youth theatre did like a little stand-up course when I was 15, and me and my mate were like, we'll do it. And I got bitten by the bug, but you're kind of limited at 15 what you can do. So I remember thinking, when I'm 18, I'm going to do stand-up properly. And I did. My first gig was at the Chiltern Arms on the May the 30th or May the 31st, I can't remember. And it was the entry to a competition called So You Think You're Funny. Because again, why not just enter a comedy competition on your first? Because I didn't know how it worked. I just saw it as a gig. I was like, I'm not going to get through. It's a gig. And maybe someone there will tell us where I can get other gigs. And I'll tell you who else was at that gig. Lost Voice Guy was at that gig.
Wow.
So I go way back with him. So it's been dead nice to see his career like boom as well. And then I remember going to Tea in the Park Music Festival with my mates a couple of months later. And I'm sat drunk in a field and the phone rings and they were like, just to let you know, well done. You're through at the semi-finals. And I was like, no, that's absolutely fine. Like, no bother. And they were like, no, you're through. And I went, I don't want to be through. Like, I just wanted to do the gig. And they were like, well, you're through. And I was like, oh, I hadn't quite anticipated this. And it kind of gave us a kick up the bum. I remember getting in touch with the stand because the stand had not long opened. And I was like, hi, I've accidentally got through to the finals or the semi-finals of a comedy competition. I've only done one gig in my life. So like, please could I have some stage time? And it's sort of all just, I always say my entire comedy career has just been one big snowball. Like it's never been, I've always known I wanted to do this, but you meet some people who've got a game plan. They're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to talk to this person. And I'm like, I'm just going to do some gigs and see what happens, and stuff keeps happening, and I'm like, okay, let's just roll with it.
I think it's the best way though, because it takes the pressure off, doesn't it? Because if you've got a game plan and that doesn't pan out, then you're left to be
exactly.
I have to say though, for me, it actually makes my stomach churn, right?
Really?
Listening to your story. Well, no, because I don't know who I was talking to recently, but I said, of all the things in the world, what terrifies me the most is the idea of doing stand-up.
Is it?
Yeah, but you've sang on stage though.
I've sang on, I know I have.
So
sang on stage, we've done stuff on stage.
Is kind of...
It's a different, for me, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
The pressure.
Everyone's looking at you.
Because I just think comedians are complete geniuses. Right?
I feel like I was very lucky in a way that I came from a drama background. So I think a lot of people's first hurdle is the thought of being on stage. But I was like, oh, I like being on stage. I like people. So the only real difference initially was I'm by myself on stage. But as a little stage kid, I was like, I would like to be by myself on the
stage. This is what I mean. So like you sing, you might not hit a note or something, or you might trip up, or it might get hit like a lighting rig or something. They're looking at the bigger thing. They're just looking at you. But stand up, it's a bit like when Metroland came on. I get that world because like you can get lost between a group and a collective. But stand on a stage and knowing that you're waiting to see if your punchline's going to get a laugh.
I get nervous talking to like Metroland and the likes of yourself. I get nervous because I'm like, she's going to use this for material later on. Do you know what I mean? You know, anything you say, they're going to be like, you're feeding. You're feeding off. But I sent Jack a clip. You know, people try and be normal. There was a lady and she was in like this premier shop. But she's like this working class Scottish lady, and she's like, "Hi, welcome to this shop." And then she shows people around. It was just so clunky. It looked like a skit. I'm like, "What's this?" I sent him. He's like, "It's ripe for the picking that down." I'm like, "That's great though." But I sent him because I'm like, "This could be a sketch. This is."
You're going to see Jack in a little headscarf and a trench coat.
It was just there was so many layers in this character and why she was doing it. And it's like, you know, this forced social media thing to go, we have to be on social media. We'll get Brenda to do it. It was one of them. It was brilliant. It was absolutely gold.
When I went back to work at Morrison's during the pandemic, they always used to get me to do the tannoys because I love doing the tannoys. I give me a microphone, but in my head, I find it baffling that other people wouldn't enjoy that. So whenever they'd be like, Lauren, can you go do that? I'd be like, oh, no one else wanted, like, I've only been here I don't want to take someone to them. Were like, please, literally nobody wants to do the tannoy. I was like, put me on the tannoy.
You've been like
I'll
that as a
make the
kid,
announcements.
though. Have you done that since, like, have you been comfortable from day one or not?
I was horribly shy as a kid, horribly shy. If my mum and dad were like introducing us to someone, I would be hiding behind their knees. Didn't like talking out loud in class. Didn't like, not that my teachers used to always write, Lauren's got brilliant ideas, I just wish she'd share them. Hated talking in public, hated speaking in public. And then when I went to secondary school, I knew I wanted to like act, but to me that felt very like controlled, if you know what I mean. Like I love doing stand-up, but I don't like ringing to make a doctor's appointment. Even though they're both speaking, I'm like, really to me, stand-up, everything's in my control. Everything I can control is controlled. And if it doesn't go well, you chalk it off. Not everybody has perfect days at work all the time, sort of thing. That's how I see it. But the thought of like ringing, I'm like, well, what if they say something I don't know the answer to? Or what if this? What if that? What if? And I have all these what ifs. And I felt like it was like that as a kid, but I really wanted to like try acting. And I got into a drama group when I was 12 or 13 or something, and it was the best thing for me confidence. So I was still very sort of like shy, sort of outwardly. But it felt like when I got to do drama, I got to like come to life, and it felt like a real, and I think this is true for a lot of shy, nerdy, awkward kids who also like drama. Drama's where they get to be themselves and express themselves without the fear of being pointed at in class and going, why has she just put on a funny voice? Totally. Why has she just done this? I
think because it's more comfortable to hide behind a character than be yourself.
100%.
But now you're doing comedy, so how long did it take you to find your own voice in comedy? Because I've heard that. You start emulating people. You'd be watching Billy Connolly, you'd be watching like, you know, the comedians.
You see it a lot in stand-up where you'll be like, you've been influenced by this person or this person, this person. But I feel like I was quite lucky because when I started properly, I was 18 and a girl from Newcastle. So even if I was copying someone, there wasn't really anyone like me on the circuit. I would walk into green rooms and people would think I was someone's sister, someone's kid, someone's girlfriend. And then people would be like, oh, like you're one of the acts. And I was like, I was this tiny little thing. But when I really started to find my voice is when you start, you get 5 minutes and that feels like an eternity. Whereas now, if you put me on for 5 minutes, I'd be like, where's the rest? Where's the rest of my time? Like I've only just got started. And then you build up. So you'll have a 5 and then you'll build up to 10 and then you'll build up to 15 and then sort of like a 20, 25 minute set. And once I was doing that, I thought, I feel the more time I'm getting, the more I'm getting to like try stuff out. And then I went and did my first hour. And I feel like that's when I really hit my groove sort of thing, because I discovered I knew from going to the Edinburgh Fringe, I loved comedians who told stories. Like the kind of show where it's one story, but it goes off in different, but follows one. Yeah. I loved stuff like that. And I was like, that's so smart. Love stuff like that. Would love, so I definitely emulated
That's what Billy Connolly was great at, wasn't he? Sort of meandering around a story and coming back around again.
He's the king of the tangent.
He was.
Yeah. And I loved that, being able to, and again, probably a bit of the drama background, loved being able to follow a story throughout it, but it goes off in different, but you get that resolution at the end. That's what some fantastic shows like that at the Fringe. And I was like, yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to do. But you can't really do that in 20 minutes. You don't have the time. And suddenly when I had an hour, it felt like I had just all the scope to bring all the strengths that I had from coming from a drama background, loving telling a story, loving being a bit of a yapper, loving bringing all these characters to life. And I think there was a lot of people who knew I was a good comic, but when I had the really good first Edinburgh, were like, oh, but we didn't know you could do that. I was like, because I didn't have the time to do that. I didn't have an hour. I've never had an hour, but give us an hour and wow, I can really.
And how much of it then is just like not being conscious about making people laugh? Like, so if you know you've got a good story and you trust your own delivery, can you stop focusing on, I hope people are going to laugh at this?
I think so. And especially when you're writing an hour, you'll do a lot of like work in progresses, and that'll be a lot of just reading stuff from a notebook, and sometimes they will just not go for anything and you think, okay, right, maybe I just need to move stuff around, maybe I need to try something else. And I think having faith in your idea is very, very important, but also knowing when to let it go is there comes a certain point when you're like, I've tried everything.
Yeah, because sometimes you might want to make something work. You're going, but I think this is funny. There's something in there. Like, when do you leave it, or do you park it on a shelf and pick it up later?
That's what I used to do. Park it on a shelf. Maybe I've had stuff that didn't fit in one show that's fit in another. I've got stuff that's still sitting on a shelf that I'm like, maybe one day.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's an idea. Ideas, they're still there. You don't have to like, oh, it was last year, I'm never going to use that.
Exactly.
It's always something you can kind of refresh, cook it up again and sort of polish it a bit, and then it could slot into something else. It could be the start of something, at the end of something. I'm fascinated. It's kind of from 5 to 20 to an hour. That's hugely different though.
Yeah. The thought of going from 20 to an hour initially, I was like, that is horrendous. But I'll try and like help people write their shows and stuff now. And a lot of the time, especially if it's someone's first hour, I'm like, does it feel daunting? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, can you write 5 minutes? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, in theory, an hour show actually only really has to be 50 minutes. As long as you've hit 50, that's fine. So you're probably looking at somewhere between like 52 and 58 minutes. So I'm like, if you can write 5, do you think you could write 10 5-minute bits, or 4 15-minute bits, or 3 20-minute bits? And that's how I approach writing an hour now. Because the thought of doing an hour, you're like, that's so much time. But I'm like, what are my ideas? This. Oh, I could write 10 minutes about that. And I could write 10 minutes about that. And I could write 10 minutes about, there you go. You've got half an hour already. And you're like, okay.
And did you find once you started doing the hour stuff, that's where you really start to find your own voice?
Absolutely.
Because I guess when you're doing 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you're just delivering something, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, I know I can do a good set. I know I can tell a joke. I know I make people laugh. What I loved about having an hour is I was like, I can tell a story as well, and I can talk about things that I'm like passionate about. So my third show was the show coming out of the pandemic sort of thing. And I had gone back to work, very proudly had gone back to work. A lot of people in the arts, most people in the arts lost their jobs. And I think some people didn't want to go back to a day job because they saw it as failing. And I was like, the world's on pause. Whatever you can do to survive. So I thought, and I also knew people who'd gone back to day jobs in secret, didn't want to admit they'd gone back to work, or what will other people think? And I was like, and again, it was all working class creatives. And I was like, why are we being made to feel scared to say that we've got a job to support ourselves, to be able to do what we love? That's insane, regardless of whether it's a pandemic or not. Like, there's no shame in having to do something else to support what you really want to do, sort of thing. So I thought, I'm gonna write a show about this. I'd broke up with my boyfriend, I'd moved back to Newcastle, and I'd gone back to work. And I was like, well, there you go, there's three threads. Then you've just got to do your little building blocks. And it was probably one of the quickest shows I've written, which scared us, because I was like, is it shit? Uh-oh. Yeah. This feels like it came together a bit too quick. But not shit, as it turned out. So it was very good.
That's the thing, you don't have to kind of torture yourself to be a good show. Good's good, funny's funny, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I'm always like, talk about what you want to talk about, and your audience will find you, sort of thing. Like, if people want, hard-hitting political commentary, fine, but they're not going to get that from me. And people know that. Nobody's going to see my name in the Fringe brochure and go, bet she's got some opinions on Starmer. Like, I do. I do, but they're not funny and I wouldn't share them on stage sort of thing. But, you know, you would look at someone like Nish Kumar and be like, yeah, if I want political comedy, I'm going to go see him. And I think that's what I've sort of got now, where people are like, oh, she does really like honest, relatable, tells good stories. And that's what I like to watch and that's what I like to do.
That's what some of the best comedians do though, don't they?
It's how you tell it as well. You've got that thing, you've got that confidence to go, I've got a great story, now I'm going to tell you it. But how do you structure that thing? I mean, I don't want to go like fall down the road.
I think it's interesting because it's just like writing anything else.
It's one of those things because I was listening to like Ramesh today on the podcast and listening to loads of comedians. I'm all over comedy all the time watching podcasts, but sometimes the breakdown is too much. I'm like, people don't want to hear that, but I'm just fascinated about the structure and how you figure that out and how you deliver that thing as well by being authentically you. Because coming on stage and going, right, tell you what happened to me. It didn't, but it's a thing that you can lead with. You know?
So like even when it comes to the writing, right? So do you like if you're writing prose or poetry or something, you must look at the structure of something you're saying. And it might be just the way you're saying it, or something you're not delivering it quite right, or using the right word, or. And
I'm a big believer. So I know a lot of comedians will write their sets out in full, like everything, and that's how they learn it. I've never been like that. My brain doesn't work like that. I always say I work it out on the stage, and if it gets a laugh, you'll be like, oh, they liked when I did that, but then say maybe do it a slightly different way the next time, and they're like, right, so they didn't like that, and it's sort of just finding your feet on stage and learning what works kind of thing. And you have to sort of trust an audience to let you know what's funny, but then also not put too much of your trust in the audience, because no offense, sometimes they are wrong.
and it's all, and every night's going to be subjective.
But it's having
different people.
But it's having the balls to change it. Oh, it's kind of going, I'm going to change this. And if it doesn't land, you're like, shit, it didn't land. Do you know what I mean? It's that. But at least you tried it, so you know what to do and what not to do.
Exactly. And I had a night a couple of years ago where I had 2 gigs in one night. One was opening for John Richardson in Barnard Castle. I think he was doing like a work in progress kind of thing of his new show, and I came and opened for him. And then I was going and closing a gig. I think it was at the South Cozy Inn. 20 minutes for both gigs sort of thing. So I was like, well, obviously I'm going to do the same set for both. Had a lovely time at the John Richardson gig. They were dead nice. Went over the South Cozy gig, and I think they'd had, say, like a 10-course meal or something, but don't quote me on this. I'm sure I got told some of the courses were shots. And I was like, oh, yes, that famous course of a meal shot. So when I got there, the atmosphere was different. This is 2 gigs, not a million miles away from each other, same night kind of thing, but they'd been drinking, they were rowdy, they'd had cocktails, the night was running behind because of how much they'd been at the bar sort of thing. And I did the exact same set, and like one of my mates had been with us, and he was like, that is so fascinating for me to watch. He was like, you did the same stuff, but it doesn't feel like it was the same stuff. And it worked at both gigs I did well, that sort of thing. And he went, you were more aggressive in the second gig, but not in a way that was like off-putting. And I went, yeah, because I have more dominance.
I was going to say, so you're reacting to the audience that's in front of you. And
I had a lovely sort of art-centery crowd for the first one, very polite, but I had to be more authoritative in the second one. He went, it was so... He went, I know that was the same material, but it was like watching 2 different
Was that just
things.
Instinctive though? Or was that like a decision?
A little bit of both. A little bit of like, I think I might have to treat this a bit more firmly, but also just sort of trusting what you know works.
You didn't like neck a shot and throw the glass in over your head and
I'll have the 11th course of shots here. Like, God.
But it's that sometimes you're going to go, right, we might get some hecklers now, right? It's understanding and introducing, letting it in. I think letting it in is probably the best way of doing it.
Exactly.
Going, all right, come at us and let's see what
I think if you go into every gig expecting every gig to be the same, every gig to be a walk in the park, I'm like, you're setting yourself up for a fail.
Can I ask you a terrible question?
Have
you ever... I think I've asked this question before.
Oh,
no, that was later. No, I was going to ask that question, but I thought if you reverse it, I won't remember anything. So
okay, sorry.
Have you ever tanked?
Yes.
Have you?
Look, any comedian who says they haven't bombed is lying. Lying. We've all died on our hoops. All I have. I can't remember when the most recent one was, but there was definitely one, I want to say within the last year. And I remember thinking, it's been a while since I've had a gig like that. And sometimes it can be maybe sometimes it is you, maybe sometimes you're not as sharp. Maybe sometimes it is the crowd, weird whatever. Maybe it's been a weird night. I can't remember the last one that I died, but it was definitely within the last year. But it had been a while, and I was like, I'd forgotten how this feels. I feel like I need a shower. Like I feel, but it happens. And I think you take it a lot harder when you start because you've got more to prove when you start. So if you have a bad gig, you take it very, very personally. But now I've been doing stand-up like my entire adult life sort of thing. It's weird. It'll be my 14-year anniversary at the end of May, and I'm 32. So I was like, that's a weird ratio of time on the stage versus off it sort of thing. But I definitely take it less personally now because I'm like, no, I know I'm good. And I wouldn't still be doing it now if I wasn't good sort of thing. I wouldn't have gotten that gig if I wasn't good. So you have to just have a little think and be like, was it me? Did I do something? Was I in a bad mood? Or was it the fact that the crowd were all sat facing the wrong way and were drunk before you came on? Or just, so you definitely take it less to heart. There's a really good, it might have been brought up, Sarah Millican's rules, Millican's law, which is you're allowed to be upset until 11 o'clock the next morning and don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it, because it's so easy to then go to your next gig with that in your mind going, well, is this going to be shit? Are you going to be shit? And then you might jeopardise that gig because you bring in all this negative energy from your last
it's
one.
always being mindful that it's not always you. Like you said, it's something like I went to see 2 gigs I went to, which were quite high profile, and they didn't land very well. So one of them was Billy Connolly.
Yeah, really?
The City Hall.
Oh, wow.
It was on 9/11.
God.
I told you that story before. And he was great. He tried to lean into what happened.
Yeah. Oh God.
but because of the way the audience were collectively thinking, nobody knew how to respond to his jokes. So it was a really muted, weird, and like tense room. And you could see he was trying to read everybody and do his best.
Yeah.
The other one was Frankie Boyle.
Really?
Like he split the room in half. I've never seen a comedian do that before, where like you could hear like really loud on one side of the room, laughter, and everybody else just thinking, I can't laugh at that.
God.
Brilliant. I mean, I enjoyed it for that reason. But I found that funny.
I think that's the beauty of Frankie Boyle, though, because he's trying to say the worst thing possible to see if you laugh about it. But he's trying to entertain himself in a way as well. It's and never sit in the front of a Frankie Boyle.
Oh no,
I would never. Nah. The first thing he does, he just leans over you and looks down at you like, I can't think of anything more petrifying. Do you know what I mean?
Apart from being on stage telling a joke.
Well, apart from that, but it'd be good to have the chops to kind of do it, though, wouldn't it? Just to be able to walk up there and do it.
It's a lot of people's bucket list thing as well, isn't it? Being like, I'd love to do it once. And I always say to people, just give it a go. Like, what's the worst that can happen is people don't laugh. Like, nobody gets hurt. Nobody, like, I mean, your ego massively, but other than that.
You just got to get some reps in the tank, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, tank, bomb, and murder. All of those
words. Anyway, solicitors firm that was starting.
Yeah. Associate.
So, coming to now, when you, I mean, like, amongst all of your peers and everything, I mean, like, the North East is a really exciting place when it comes to comedy. I think it is.
Definitely.
And actually, you cropped up when I first saw your stuff.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it's when we put the Metroland stuff out. I'm sure you liked it or something.
Oh, probably.
And then I started watching your stuff, and it reminded me of just how, like, historically, the North East, like, really been quite strong from a comedy point of view, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what annoys me about, because I think we're so, irrespective of whether people do comedy or not, I think the North East is fundamentally a funny place. I think we've got a good sense of humour, a good sense of identity. Like, I love being from here, so proud to be from here. And we produce fantastic comedy talent. And then I think we're slept on by the decision makers. And I don't know if this came up when Metroland were chatting, if they mentioned it.
I think they did.
But it's
probably
certain people will try and deny it, but I do still feel like people are sleeping on the North East. And I'm like, there's a Steve Martin quote, like, get so good they can't ignore you. And I'm like, that is the North East. We are so good. And there's still people who are going, but where?
Yeah.
But it's 3 hours out of London. Couldn't possibly. And I'm like, the Lumo is so fast. You cannot have any excuses now. Yeah. No way. Lumo doesn't even stop anywhere but York.
Yeah.
So get yourself on.
the problem is it's the commissioners, and that's the problem. It's the people who commission and make the decisions. they're always from London and always from the south.
Yeah.
Because that's where the higher up jobs are. I know we've got somebody who's from the BBC living up here, but that still doesn't mean to say that she can make that decision.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't.
Definitely.
She's got bosses to kind of, say yes
But
to.
then when Jack and Caden were on, they refer to the fact that sort of perforates the region as well. Like, so you've got decision makers here who then don't make it easy for you to progress or support the industry.
I always remember once, this was a good few years ago, but I had an idea for a sitcom and I specifically wanted it to be made in the Northeast, like set in the Northeast. That was so core to its identity. And one of the people who I was sort of pitching it to was like, but what if it was set in London? And I was like, but what if it wasn't? Like, what if it wasn't set in London? Like, why does it have to be set in London? And I could just see the interest leaving their eyes when I said I didn't want to set it in London.
Despite the fact that like some of the most iconic comedy, even on TV, has come from here.
Yeah.
Well, enough weird, isn't it? But it's probably one of the funniest things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
It wasn't really intentionally to be a comedy, but it is. It's about it's just, but that's the thing. Normal people on a build site are probably the funniest people that you've ever heard. Anyway, that's not on a stage.
And sometimes I don't know if it's a bit of like snobbery still, a little bit of like classism without people realising, a little bit of sort of ingrained, like, oh no, maybe I couldn't possibly, like, but a little bit of sort of inherent
it's a bit
snobbery.
like, we like working class, but not that working class.
Yeah, it has to be a palatable working class.
We're like watching you go and dance for us and all that kind of stuff. I still think it's like that. I really do.
There was one
like
idea I had, and it was sort of based off the back of like everything that happened in the pandemic when I'd gone back like working in a supermarket and stuff, and I sort of had an idea on the go, and I very strongly said that my character was going to be working class, but I wanted her to have a degree. I was like, I'm not playing into that trope of she's a stupid girl from the Northeast who could only dream of going even to Leeds. Like, oh no, I went, no, like, I hate this idea that, some people are like, well, of course, some people have never left the Northeast, but I hate the idea that the only thing that's sort of interesting in is like, oh, the stupid girl who has no career and has no aspirations and all of this. I was like, no. I very clearly want her to have had a degree. And one of the bits of feedback I got would be, why would she be working in a supermarket if she had a degree though? And I was like,
what?
Oh, and I was like, may I remind
there's a lack of human experience.
May I remind you where I've just spent the last year and a half of my life working during a pandemic? But I was like, that's just somebody who's so out of touch with how the world looks today. So many people, smart, brilliant, educated people have got their degrees and are then working a job they don't want to, a job that's way, not beneath them in terms of, that, but like beneath what their education has like pushed them for, because it's all they can get. And I think that's especially true up here as people get degrees and then can't get jobs, particularly in creative fields that they want. So they do whatever to survive. And that was why would they have a degree and be working in a supermarket?
Because they're like fascinated by like a starving artist persona wafting around, like, with the burden of the fact that they can't get any work. Yeah, but like up here, you just go and get a job.
You don't get a job, That's always been my mentality. Yeah,
that's more of a true story, and people will be more connected to it because it's a true story. And all the students will be, I did that, because that's the majority of what people do. You get a bar job, you get something just to kind of
to get by,
until you get the next thing.
And I thought that was the interesting thing, and but you could see the cogs spinning, being like, but how and why? And I just thought, it's an uphill battle, isn't it? It's an uphill battle.
Well, this is what struck us with the conversation with Metroland was that they just went, well, we're just going to create our own.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't get commission. We're not on TV. We're just going to create our own channel, do our own thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's changed though. That kind of TV aspects sort of changed. I think it's harder to get on there. Like Vic and Bob back in the day, they do something silly and then it's a unique, it's a one-off. But they're still on there now. But it's still that kind of comedy. They haven't changed what they were from back in the day. But I don't think you're going to get plucked out of the ether as easy. Yeah,
definitely. It feels like obviously TV is shrinking and then the internet's booming, which is great. But then at the same time, you're like, but it feels so much harder then to, like, it's easier to find your audience in one way, but then also you feel like you're competing with.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feel more competitive now.
Because there's a lot of people doing it, and it might just be circumstance, or they just pop up, or you pop up on their feed, or whatever it is, and it's kind of, I don't know, is that hard to kind of navigate that kind of thing?
It's definitely a bit of a double-edged sword. It's like I would rather not have to bow down to decision makers, but then sometimes it can feel so daunting to be like, because all it takes is your video to end up with the wrong people sort of thing, which I've been quite, I don't put a lot of stuff, I know I should do more, but I've not quite had that. But I remember back in the day when I used to like Twitter, before Twitter crumbled and turned into the hellscape it is, that I had a few tweets that would go viral and I'd be like, brilliant, I'd be like, my tweet's gone viral, I'm going to get more followers, all of this, but then your tweet would go to the wrong person who didn't get your humour and didn't realise you were a comedian and didn't know you were making a joke, particularly cycling Twitter. Oh, they do not like jokes. But there was a few times and I thought, oh, it's so interesting to see when your content or when your words or when your whatever makes its way out of your orbit, sort of thing. Like I remember I had a tweet accidentally. You try so hard sometimes to go viral and it'll be the weirdest things. That one of the last things that went viral before I left Twitter was I'd gone on a date and I'd made him a paella, and then he had what we think was an allergic reaction because he was like sick for like 24 hours in my flat sort of thing, like just non-stop sick. And then a couple of weeks later, he sends us a message and he was like, oh, I've got like pains in my tummy, like really bad pain. I was like, have you eaten any prawns? And he was like, no. And a couple of hours later, I get a message, he's in hospital. And he was like, it's my appendix. And then he claimed to me, and I don't know if he was talking out his ass, I believed him at the time because why wouldn't I? He said to me the doctor had said the two things could be linked, that the intense vomiting a couple of weeks ago could have done some damage inside, because he was otherwise a really healthy lad. And I remember thinking, God, and I knew it was just a chance it could be related, but I got him a card and I wrote him like a get well soon card and I was like, sorry, I tried to steal your heart but accidentally stole your appendix. And then just as I'm about to give him this card, I thought, this is funny, this. So I took a picture of it. Thank God I blocked his name out because we did not last. But I blocked his name out and I put it on Twitter and it blew up. It absolutely blew up, and I thought, all these carefully crafted jokes I've posted over the years, and the thing that's gone viral is that even now I'll sometimes tell that story to people and they're like, I saw that tweet, and I'm like, yeah, that was me. It got picked up by the bloody Archbishop of Banterbury. I was like, you don't have an Archbishop. Banterbury is not a place. You do not have an Archbishop. But it started getting picked even now. Every now, like a meme page will post it, and I'm like, oh for God, like the joke has outlived the short-lived relationship that it was. But at first it was really exciting, and then I started getting the didn't happen, and I was like, well, it did. Like, I know there's not 100% chance these two things are linked, but this did happen. I did go on a date. He did get a suspected allergic reaction, and he has now had his appendix removed. And the doctor supposedly did say that it could be related. And then you start getting the, well, she sounds like a fucking nightmare. Wouldn't want to be cooked, and she clearly just can't cook. What kind of? And I was like, I can't cook actually. I can cook, for your information.
Did you engage with it?
No, I didn't engage with any of the negativity.
But really hard to not dive in and be like, hold on a minute.
There's no way she's lying. There's no way these two things could be medically related, all of this. And I just thought, I knew it wasn't, but you think if you have to caveat every post I do with, I know there's not 100% chance, but I have tried to make a joke out of this situation. This is a light-hearted tweet. Then the tweet doesn't become funny anymore. And it was so insane to watch this tweet just reach the boring corner of the internet of the didn't happen, not true, or just like mean things about it. And even now, if it pops back up, this was like 5 years ago now, but if it pops back up again and someone will send us it like, ha ha ha, look what I just don't engage with it. I don't even go and look because I'm like,
you can't win.
No.
Well, there's no point engaging because it
was like a light-hearted little dating fail story, and the amount of people who just wanted to jump on it. And
is it sometimes gold for you as a comedian? Go, oh, let's have some fun, let's play.
Yeah,
it must be different than like somebody like Jen getting trolled.
Yeah,
but you can lean into it and go, oh, this is going to be good.
There was one I remember clapping back at,
as well.
which I've not normally been one to clap back because I always think sometimes you're just giving them what they want. But I'd done, was it Melbourne Comedy Festival? Probably about this time 8 years ago now, 2018. And I'd done like a little short set and it got filmed and put up. And I remember this is like sort of before people used to really put like their clips on social media and stuff. So I remember being excited that I had this really nice clip that had been filmed. And I went and I looked at the comments, and someone had left a comment being like, oh, female comedians have to talk about their vagina, don't they? And I thought, I don't have a joke about. Especially at that age, I was very conscious to try and counter that stereotype, even though I don't think you should have to, but I felt at the time that I had to. I don't feel like that now. Yeah. No way. I'm like, no, talk about what you want. If that's not what you want to hear about, then I'm not the comedian for you. That's fine. Yeah. But at the time I was like, no, I must avoid stuff like that. Or people will just say this. And I'm racking my brains, and I thought, I'm going to have to watch the clip. So I watched the clip, and I'd made a little off-the-cuff comment about halfway through. I had a sequin skirt on, and I'd made some it wasn't even a joke. It wasn't meant to be me set. I'd obviously just like gone off script for a bit. And it was something like, yeah, I know this skirt must make me fanny look like a disco ball. Something like that was it. That in a 6-minute clip. That was it. That was enough for him to go, female comedians, all they do is talk about their vagina. Oh, I must have had a wine. Because all I can think is this is the only reason I must have wrote back. And I commented back on YouTube. It's probably still up there. And I was like, I'm really sorry that I spent 10 seconds in a 6-minute clip mentioning a body part that me and 50% of the population own. I can only assume the reason it's upset you so much is it's reminded you of the last time that you saw one. And I just left it at that. And I thought, and I think he did write back something. And I just thought, no, I've won. Won. Yeah. Other people might disagree, but I was like, in my head, I have won that. I think you won that exchange.
See, sometimes the best ones is where you put your comment. You hope that they're going to have the humility just to back down, and go right. I'm not. But when they come back, that's the best one to leave alone.
Exactly.
When they come back, because you know that irate.
Shout into the ether. Shout into the ether.
You can feel the rage, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Then you can laugh at it.
Nothing. Walk away from it.
Going forward, then, for you, what is it? I mean, it sounds like a really boring question.
No.
Because we're talking about TV and about commission and all that. What does where do you want us to head? What's your kind of...
So weirdly, I really... I love stand-up, but I don't... I used to love the circuit. I used to love being in a different city every night of the week. Oh my God, being in a hotel. And normally you're paying for the hotel, but still, just being in a hotel was so exciting, so fun. And I'm away and I would go and have a little walk around whichever place I was in, all of this. And then I don't know if it's a combination of the pandemic or me getting older sort of thing, but I definitely think after the pandemic, I was just like, I don't want to be away all the time. I don't want to be. I'd bought my flat then, and I was like, I got a mortgage. I want to sit in the flat that I'm paying the mortgage for. I never want to be in it. I got the dog, and I was like, I don't want to have to find someone to look after the dog every weekend. And even I found whereas I used to love being away for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday doing a gig. I was away in September for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I hated it. Gigs themselves were fine, but I hated being away from home for that long. And I was like, isn't it mad that 5-6 years ago lived for this? I would never have been in the flat on a weekend, and that's how I liked it. I wanted every single weekend to be full of gigs. And then it's a weird thing in comedy. Sometimes when you get what you thought you wanted, you're like, oh, but no, actually now my priorities have changed and now I don't. So I still love gigging, but the thought of having a gig every single weekend in a different city makes us which is weird because that's what I've worked my whole career for. But my focus now is on writing. I want to write more. I want to try and get scripts off the ground.
You write for other people as well?
Well, that's kind of also the direction I want to head in. But I found it quite hard not being in London because I feel like a lot of the comedians live in London and get together and write in London. I'm like, I could meet you on Zoom and I could. Yeah. But I've started helping people with their Edinburgh shows and directing it. I love that. Absolutely love it. But I've definitely become, it probably is getting older as well, but I've become more of a home bird and more of a wanting to be at home than where I'd love to be on a Saturday in a hotel in Nottingham. That's where I want to, I'm like, no. So a lot of the time now I'll even try and get back from a gig, even if it means I can drive, but only very recently, and I choose to avoid it as much as possible. But say if I'm doing a weekend of gigs in Edinburgh, I'll commute on the Friday and Saturday, whereas I used to be like, no, I'll stay for the whole weekend. I'm like, no. I'll commute. I'll go there and back.
And intensity and exhaustion and novelty dies.
I think that's a big thing,
ooh, I'm away for a weekend from work. Yeah. But now I'm like, can I get the last train back?
Exactly. Where's my bed? No. Where's my bed and my dog?
People always say you pay us to travel. You don't pay us to do the gig because I do that for free. You pay us to get there and do the gig. So
I remember somebody once saying to me, also all your travel and stuff is the promoter will pay for that. And I was like, ha. No. I can probably count on one hand the comedy clubs that I can think of that offer accommodation, and now they would be my priority of ones to do because I'm like, I don't want to eat into my fee. But I remember once somebody this is maybe when I was at uni or something and I'd been paid say 100 quid for a gig. Someone was like, you've been 100 quid just to be on stage for 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, and it costs us 40 quid for the train. And if you have to get a hotel, you have to. So sometimes when you're starting, or a lot of the time when you're starting, you're making nothing. Even if you are getting paid, even if you don't need a hotel, by the time you've paid your petrol, by the time you've paid whatever. So it takes a while before you're even first you do it for nothing, you're losing money. Then you're getting paid, but you're not really getting
mad how people
paid.
perceive money and time. We've just been talking,
We're talking about money.
and time. People don't think of the prep that you had to do, or the content that you had to write, or the stuff that you had to do to even get on the stage.
Just to the point of getting there,
And then you've got to do it. You've got to put yourself out there.
I can't think of many jobs where you drive 4 hours just to get to that job sort of thing. Like, say if I was doing a gig in Manchester, that's a 3.5, if you're me, 4 hour drive. Because I am slow. Yes, I will be doing 62 miles an hour all the way down the M1 or whichever way it is. But it's like the travel to get there. One of my tour shows on my last tour was in like Southampton. And I was like, that's far. So tagged on a trip to London afterwards to go see Groove Armada, but then everything I spent on that night probably I was like, it's too expensive. Like, if it takes ages to get the train back from Southampton, or I could fly, like, that's really expensive. So I was like, I'll just go have a night in London with my friends, it will be cheaper. And I was like, well, then you've just spent the money that you would have spent.
Funny how your brain works like that, isn't it?
I was like, this whole night out is free.
But you have this. It's like having dessert. You think it goes into a separate stomach.
Exactly.
You know, like, it's not the same money that I'm spending.
I was like, technically I'm on holiday now on this one night. But yeah, I've turned down gigs because I'm just like, I'm sorry, it's not, by the time it'll take me to get there and I've paid me petrol, it's just not. And it's no reflection on the gig. It's just where feasibly is sort of like possible for us to gig now, and I'm fine with that. A few years ago I would have been like, oh no, I'm missing out on this gig, and now I'm like, there's plenty of work without having to go to Cardiff. Like, Cardiff is completely, I think that's one I got offered recently, and I was like, would love to go back and gig in Cardiff, but it's just not logistically possible at the minute. And I was like, and in days gone by I would have been like, well, I'll make a run of gigs, I'll go to London for a few days and then here for a few, and I'll work my way up to Cotton. Now I'm like, no, because that means being away from home for a week. No. I've become so
really
boring.
Late, and your dog getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning still.
Oh my God, my little alarm clock.
I missed that bit of the conversation earlier.
I heard a little bit of it.
Yeah. He's somehow learned. So he wakes us up at 6. That's fine. That's okay. I let him out. I've got AstroTurf on my balcony, so he has a little wee-wee. And then usually he would come back to bed, and he comes back to bed and he would then wake us up at 7 for his breakfast. And that is how it's been for a long, long time. Now he has decided he wants to cry non-stop between 6 and 7. And I'm trying to just ignore it, but it's quite hard. He's persistent. He's loud. And then...
Like proper crying.
Like proper howling. And I think that's why I've got a headache today, genuinely. I think he's done my head in. But I wait till 7 because I'm like, no, because if I get up at 6:45... then you're just going to push it back and back until eventually I'm giving you a breakfast at midnight. So this morning put his breakfast down at 7, and then I normally go back to bed till 8, and I get up at 8. So I go back to bed, and I woke up at 8, and he's tucked up next to us under the covers, snoring. I got up for work, his head on the pillow, still snoring. And I was like, oh, you enjoy your sleep then?
Yeah.
You enjoy your sleep there?
Yeah.
And I don't know where that behaviour's come from, but...
Honestly, they're so selfish but incredible at the same time.
Yeah. He'll just hit you until he gets the paw on you, and I'm like, no.
It's who's training who.
They'll have routines like mine, right? Mine's a spaniel, so you will. You've met Paddy, right? So he fusses about all night, right? Walking around the house, and you can hear his clothes. Sounds like he's got high heels on, walking around the house, right? And then sometimes, because I've been learning recently that you should never let a dog have his ball in the house. Apparently, right?
Really?
For dogs like spaniels, they're meant to think that you own the ball. The ball's yours. Because if they were like working dogs and they were hunting and they went and got like a goose or something like that, or a duck, they're not meant to eat it. They're meant to bring it back to you. So the ball symbolises that thing. Loads of people watching the podcast going completely making that up. Right. I think that's the right thing, right?
You're saying it very well, though. Yeah,
right? Yeah. But the last couple of days, I think the kids have been playing with the ball in the house. So about 6 o'clock in the morning, all I can hear is doom, 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 doom.
Oh, bless.
Doom, 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 doom. Off the bed. Back down again. Back on the bed. Dropping the ball off the bed.
Best game in the world.
Yeah. Then he's got this little routine. You go downstairs, let him out in the back garden. He has a wee, which lasts him about 25 minutes. I don't know how he keeps his leg up that length of time. And then he just sprints around the garden really fast for any birds that are there. Like he does a sweep of danger. Yeah. Get out of my gut. And he barks at them all. Goes back in, eats, goes back to bed.
Yeah.
Well, I've had to buy Ralph steps for the bed. Ralph can jump on the bed. Ralph can jump on the bed. He can 100%. But I think at some point, Ralph's my dog, by the way, just in case I hadn't made that clear. So when I got Ralph, I was a single woman. So it was me and Ralph against the world. And then a man came into my life. So me and Ralph had to change our routine a little bit. Suddenly Ralph wasn't allowed in the bed, all of this. Man no longer on the scene.
Called Ralph.
I was going to say that would be a conundrum. Man no longer on the scene. Ralph is back in the bed and has been. Ralph was overjoyed at that breakup. He was like, you mean I got my spot back? But now I'm dating again. So I think Ralph's confused as to what the rules are of when he is and isn't allowed in the bed. He's like, there's a man here, but it's not the man. I don't know. Is this a new dad? Yeah. I'm confused. So he will just stand at the side of the bed and like, his little, and I think I've babied him too much. And I think he thinks he's a little baby boy. So I'll pick him up and put him in the bed. But he can jump on. But now I think he's got it in his head, I'm only allowed in the bed if my man picks me up and puts me on the bed. And I've tried always to just be like, because especially with this 6 a.m. debacle, I'm like, I'm picking him up, I'm putting him down, I'm picking him up. So I bought him steps. For the bed. And I put these little steps on the bottom of the bed and he just looked at me like, what the hell? So I thought, I'll go get a treat. So I went and got a treat. I came into the bedroom. Before I'd even sort of like done the thing to go up, he just jumps on the bed. And I was like, well, this is what I'm training. What the hell? I was like, I bought these because you won't do this. So I was like, get off the bed. So he jumps off the bed. And then I pointed to the stairs with a treat. And I went up the stairs and he jumped on the bed. And I was like, I've just spent 30 quid on Amazon on these steps. Oh my God.
That's how it works.
So I was like, right. Now I've trained him to use the steps. He thinks the steps are the best thing in the world. He thinks they're the best thing in the world. He loves them. I'll sometimes not know where he is in the flat. And I'll go in. He's just on the bed, like, pay me one of your French girls chilling there. But he's just discovered that if he takes his ball onto the bed, he can boot the ball down the steps. So he's been having a great time doing that.
And he's found a use for the steps. He's found a use for the steps. This is great.
Dog's incredible, man.
Great time.
Yeah.
I was expecting.
It's very kind of you, man, getting us those steps for the ball.
But I don't want to walk on them. I want to throw a ball down them. Yeah. These are the down things. These are not
steps
for
the ball.
Not my nice clean steps, no.
Just when when you have the sound of the ball going downstairs, I was expecting like Steve McQueen, he's just bouncing off the wall. He's like great escape.
Totally. It is a little bit like that, man. So it feels like
eyeball just rolling at you. You're gonna fight us or what, man? Dad?
Well, Paddy scrabs you.
Oh,
So like not like aggressively, but it's worse than aggressive. Like in a sort of
just enough to annoy you and do something.
They just stares at you like that and drags his clothes
Yo.
down.
Just eyeballs you. Yeah.
And he like just fixates until you get up.
they don't blink, do they?
Yeah.
This is what I've discovered about like sort of introducing Ralph to like new people in my life now. So I've been like seeing somebody. So obviously like Ralph has had to be introduced. Ralph loves him though. Ralph thinks he's the best person in the world, but Ralph has identified he is weak. So if I'm eating, I did used to have a glass dining table, but he would sit underneath it and stare up at you, and it was so off-putting. So I sold it.
Just looking through the glass table.
That
looks nice.
Little wet nose on the glass. Like, anything for me?
Is that chicken?
Exactly. So I was like, right, we're getting rid of that. And a lot of the time, especially when I've been living by myself, I'll just sit and eat my tea on the sofa, and I just ignore him. And if there is any scraps he can have at the end, like a little bit or whatever, I'll give him it. Now there's new man in the situation. Ralph has identified weak blood, weak link in the system, so Ralph will just stare and stare and stare. And he's like, he's looking at me. Can I just give him a little bit? And I'm like, that's exactly what he wants. That's why he's staring at you. And he was eating a Greggs the other day, and I was just about to say, please don't give him any of that, as I saw him hand over a bit of his sausage roll. And I was like, he knows you're soft. The dog knows you're soft. Yeah.
It's a true Northeast dog having a Greggs sausage roll.
It's the first and only time he's ever, the dog has ever growled at me. I'd had him about a year, and I was walking him around the flats where I live, and you know what they're like, they're sniffing in the bushes. And he went in the bushes, and he was a while, and I thought, oh, I don't like this. So I pulled him out, Greggs sausage roll in his mouth, and I was like, where the hell has he gotten that from? So I was like, drop it. Wouldn't drop it. And I was like, drop it. So I went to take it out of his mouth, and he went, and I was like, oh. So I was like, I don't really know how to like challenge. We're in the street, I don't know what to do. But he wasn't, I can't stress enough, he wasn't chewing it, he just had it in his mouth. So I thought, let's see what happens. So just carried on walking with him. He carried this Greggs sausage roll for the rest of the walk. he did his poo with the Greg sausage roll hanging out of his mouth. I went to pick up his poo and he was like, and I was like, I'm coming for the poo, not the sausage roll. I thought I'll just have to take it off him when we get back in the flat. I got back in the flat and he still just had it in his mouth and I had to like prise it from either side. So he did get a little bit of sausage in the middle.
Sounds like me when I was about 7.
Yeah, he just would not let it. Was like his emotional support sausage roll. And I was like, you are going to have to give me this back. Like, this is...
There's a new tune.
That's why he's waking you up at 6 o'clock. It's like resentment. I'll never forget what you did with that.
Where's my emotional support, Greg's?
That's they'll be making them next. You know, just to throw them and then the dog brings it back.
But you'd expect a dog to just inhale it, wouldn't you? But
that's a good idea. Right?
Just holding on to it for dear life and his little...
I can't believe he didn't eat it. That's
bullshit. Sausage roll.
But where? But who was stashed the sausage roll in the bush?
Exactly.
Right. Obviously.
Well, just kind of hiding.
Someone thinking, I'll come back to that later.
Around the northeast. Like they do with the seagulls.
Imagine that's some youngin going to school. I'll stash it here later on. No one's going to find it.
Where is it?
The dog snuffled it. Oh,
just a little pool of dribble when he comes in.
That's dog trap. Definitely. That dog's definitely training you, mind.
Oh,
he's got you.
He's smart. He didn't like my ex-boyfriend.
Is that how you vet them
from early doors? And I remember one day coming in and I'd put his food down in the bowl, like in the dog's bowl, and the dog had picked up a bit of his dog food and just gone and put it into my ex's shoe. And I was like, I've never seen a dog do. And I know, looking back, well, no, knowing what I know, I shouldn't have challenged it, but. At the time, I was like, maybe I should have challenged it, but I was like, that's fucking funny, man. That's funny, like that. And I think he's only ever growled at one other man. And again, it was like a date who I had round. And the whole way I was like, are you okay with dogs? And he was like, I love dogs. And I was like, my dog is so nice and so friendly and so soft. And I opened the door and the dog just went, and I was like, oh.
You can't, like, whenever you want them to behave, they don't.
But I think he's a good judge of character. Because it didn't work out with me and that lad. So maybe he just knew. Maybe he was like, Mum, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time with this one.
I think they are good character.
Yeah.
That's a perfect kind of, it's fast tracking your dates. Just bring him round first. And then
exactly. If he growls,
you're
not in.
Shut.
You're not in.
Don't get stuck on dogs, right? But I've just remembered. So my dog has like a habit that if you take him to like a beach or a park, because you take him off lead, he has to. He's got to because he's just goes a bit stir crazy. Spaniel needs to be like, fishing about and all that. You take him to a beach, right? Like he's done it loads of times. He pees on people.
Oh.
Only in those environments.
Really?
So if you take him, like, say, Plessy Woods, the bit where you go past the park bit and there's just, big fields before you go on the actual walk. If somebody's sitting, eating a packed lunch,
straight
he
over.
won't steal a packed lunch. Runs over and pees on their backs.
Backs?
Yeah, cocks his leg on their back.
Dominance.
Or if you go to the beach, it's happened actually.
It's a poor kid building a sandcastle.
Of all times, right?
A beach is a little bit better. It's wet than that.
Well, November went over just outside Commons, that part of the beach.
Yeah.
Took him along up the cliffs. And we're coming back along, and it was just a girl who'd been, like, obviously open water swimming in the sea.
Oh, no.
So she was in like a shorty wetsuit. And you could see her coming out the water, and I could see a dry pile of clothes just in a little bundle.
No.
And I looked at him, and I looked at his face, and I went, you're going to, aren't you? And he ran across the beach. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a Scooby-Doo. What's going on, this girl?
Oh, God.
Just watching him. Then he got to it and just stood there and did a long wee. When I say long, his standing leg was shaking because his other leg was hovering in the air for that long. He saturated this girl's stuff. I didn't know what to do. What do you do? Like, I can't donate me clothes in public. I just literally had to go, I'm really sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry about that.
I'm so sorry.
What do you do? What would you do?
What did you do?
Just get in the car with your shorty on.
They really test your patience, don't they?
It's kind of...
But he's still like...
Try and wash your clothes in the sea and that.
He did it blind about a week later. You'd think we'd learn. Just keep on the lead.
The gig I was on about before, I think it might have been before we were recording, when I'd given myself a migraine driving to the gig. So I was meant to get there with like 45 minutes to spare. I was like, brilliant, perfect. I took one wrong turn. like 15 minutes away from the venue and ended up 40 odd minutes down Farm Road sort of thing in the fog with this migraine brewing. And I was like, ah. And then I don't want to adhere to stereotypes, but I struggle with parking a lot. And then I got to this place and couldn't get parked. And I was like, this is the worst. So I turned up to the gig and the gig is about to start. And when you're like, I'm stressed, like I hadn't put my makeup on, nothing. I thought, oh God, I must look a state. And also I was like, I feel sick. Like I don't feel good. And I thought, whatever, I'll just find a little toilet backstage. My mum's always like, just get it up. Get it up. That's the way I've been brought up, just get it up. So I thought, I'll be sick. I'll go on. I'll smash the gig. All good. I opened the door to what I thought was the toilet, stalker bed. And I was like, oh God. And then I thought, I don't think there's a toilet backstage. And the way I'd got backstage was through the audience. That it was one of those kind of theatre gigs. So I'd had to walk through the audience to then go backstage. And suddenly I'm thinking, I don't think there's a toilet backstage. So I'm opening every door out and it's only a tiny little backstage bit. By this point, the compare's gone on. So in my head, I'm like, I've got 10 minutes. I've got 10 minutes before I'm on. I'm thinking, but then I think the more I was panicking, the more I was then thinking, no, I am going to be sick. If I just stayed calm and like breathed through it, but I thought the more in the state I'm getting, the more I need to be sick. I looked at my backpack and I thought, what other choice do I have? So I didn't have much of me. I had my little makeup bag, I had my notebook, I think I had a banana, took it out, and I just thought, I was on with Larry Dean, and me and Larry are really good friends, and he hadn't got there at this point, and I thought, if he gets here at the moment, I've got my head in my backpack. So I was like, bleh. So I had to be sick in my backpack. And once it was up, I was like, you know what? I do feel better. Like I do feel good. That worked. So I went downstairs to wait to go on. And I thought, no, I still feel sick. So I'm trying all the doors downstairs. I found a kind of toilet. It looked like it was being done up, but I was like, I don't know if it flushes, but I need to be sick in here. I walked on. I must have had tears in my eyes. I was like, I did the gig and I got through the gig.
Did you mention it?
I did. I was like, in case it looks like I've been crying, I have. I was like, I've just been sick. And then the worst part was, I couldn't put my stuff in my bag to leave because I've been sick in my bag. So I have to walk through the audience carrying my possessions with my little sicky backpack. And I was just like, oh no, oh dear. I was like, this is stressful. This is the
nothing worse, is there?
It's the side of comedy no one tells you about.
Vomiting's one of those things, isn't it?
Like that's the worst thing ever.
Being ill and being a comedian is really hard.
But how far you'd go though?
Yeah.
Rather than just go, I'm ill.
Exactly.
I can't do it.
I had food poisoning at the Edinburgh Fringe a couple of years ago. We'd been 2024, and I had been told my show was getting filmed for this little like streaming thing the following week. So I woke up and knowing you just think, oh, and I'd been, because people really get in bad habits of eating bad at the Fringe, and I've done all that when I was younger, but I thought, no, I'm in my 30s now, I'm going to make sure I eat well, all of this, and I had, but I must have just picked up a bug. So I woke up and knowing your belly's like swollen. I was like, oh, I don't feel well. I feel so sick. I'm texting. I've got no boundaries with anybody. So I think in the space of 3 minutes, I texted my director, my agent, and somebody else being like, I've got the shit. How quick does Imodium work? So I went, got some Imodium, and I just thought, it's an hour. An hour is a long time to be on stage when you don't know which end it's going to come out of at some point sort of thing. And I walked into the venue and I thought, there's a lot of cameras in here. And I was like, that's weird. And I was like, guy after me was MC Hammersmith. I was like, MC Hammersmith's show must be getting recorded today. And then some girl I didn't recognise said, hello, it was. And I was like, hello. Bear in mind, I'm also green at this point because I've been shitting my eyeballs out all morning. And then people start talking to me about the cameras. And I was like, I don't know about the cameras. And they were like, because your show's getting filmed today. And I was like, not today. And I looked in my diary and I had it for obviously something had been changed or something that had not been passed on. And I thought, of all days. So now not only do I have the pressure of I'm poorly, I've got a dodgy tummy and I need to be on stage for an hour, but it's getting filmed. Like, what the hell? So I think I addressed it at the top and I just went on and I was like, you need to really be on board with me today. Like, I need you to be the best crowd in the world. Like, I need it because the adrenaline does kind of get you through, but you have to be having a good show for that to happen. I think if that show hadn't been a good show, I don't know what I would have done. I think I would have had an accident halfway through the show. But when it's going well, I suppose your mind is taken off it. But
is that the worst that's ever happened to you?
That's the worst I can remember because I think I had that added panic if it was being filmed and I was just like, I can't think about the show when I'm thinking about do I need to be sick? Do I need to go to the toilet? I don't know what's going on, sort of thing. That's definitely. There was one time at Leeds Fest a good few years ago. Now this was pre-pandemic, when again. Leeds Fest and Reading Fest are the end of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, but a lot of the comedians booked to do it will have been doing Edinburgh, but it's the right at the end, so you're tired, you're ill, you're all of this. And I remember saying, I'm going to be really sensible, I'm going to not stay up late, I'm going to get a takeaway and go home early because I'm getting an early train to York to be picked up to go and do Leeds Festival. And I was so smug and I was so pleased with myself. I was like, goodbye friends in the bar. Enjoy your night. I'm going to go get a good night's sleep. And
I'm professional.
I'm
See you
so
later.
professional. And I got this little pizza or whatever on the way home. And when I woke up, again, like I looked 6 months pregnant. And I was like, what the hell? And then knowing your belly goes, and I thought, oh no. I'm walking at the train station in tears. I'm trying to ring my agent, but it's 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning or something. So obviously she's not answering. I got on the train. I'm a very weepy when I'm not well. So I'm like, like sitting on the train. I remember there was me, Jade Adams and Tom Lucy all at York train station. We'd all been sat separately on the train, but we all like gathered at York train station, and nobody wanted to be the one sat next to me in the car because they could just tell I wasn't well. Got to the festival site. I remember like lying down on a little sofa somewhere. I was not well. But also that gig at the time, I needed the money. I was like, I can't say no. Like there's no sick pay in comedy. There's no like protection. I was like, I need this money, and it was a nicely paid gig. And I remember, luckily, the compere was someone I've worked with loads. He took one look at his and he was like, you're not well. I know you and I know you're not well. And I was like, nah. That is the only year of me I can't find any professional pictures of me at Leeds Festival. And I think it might be related.
And did you get through it?
I think the professional photographer was like, no, she's not at her best. Let's not take any pictures of this. It's the only year I've ever performed at Leeds Fest that I've never seen a picture of us on stage. And I remember the compere said, I was on for half an hour as well, at Leeds. Bunch of pissed teenagers who don't really want to be in the comedy tent. The compere said, normally I would go sit in the little cabin while you were on stage. He said, I'm going to stand at the back the whole time. I'm going to be just behind the curtain. Any point you feel like you're going to be sick, just walk off. You went, whether you've done 10 minutes, whether you've done 20 minutes. And I got through the set, but when I walked off, sure enough, he was stood there at the curtain. He was like, you did really well. And I was like, the second I got off. But, it's a really tough one because people go, well, it's just telling jokes. But like, you know what it's like when you don't feel well, when you feel sick, when you've got a headache.
It takes your mind off it a little bit, doesn't it?
We've got the bright lights on you, all of this. Like,
trying not to shit yourself when you're on stage. That's quite a hard thing.
That's the worst. When you're like, sick is one thing. I think when you got the poops, you're like, no. If I vomited on myself on stage, I think I could survive it.
Because people can socially cope with that. It's like a night out in the big market.
If I shit myself on stage, I think I would simply have to move to the moon. I don't think I could. I'm very candid about talking about poo and sick and all of this kind of stuff. But if I shit myself on stage, that would be me done. That would be the last time you saw Lauren Pattison perform.
There's the clip.
I just see her trolling herself online. Do you know what I mean? Just giving herself loads of shit.
Any moments at that? Sick moments?
Oh, like I've had loads.
Taxi drivers are mental.
Yeah.
I had it because I've never ever taken a day off work ever. And I threw up half an hour before I did a photo shoot before. So just completely. And then when I finished, straight to bed.
Yeah.
It was the adrenaline just got you through.
Exactly.
But you had to go dry mouth. And that time on the boat where I kept throwing up.
That one. Sorry.
Yeah. I went out night fishing on a trawler before for filming purposes. I did nothing but throw up for 8 hours. Water touching my lips.
Straight back up.
So I was horizontal. And then the lad shouted us up to fly the drone. I had to fly the drone, do the film and all that kind of stuff. That was the roughest I've ever been, ever. Yeah. But again, you get through it.
The only ones I've had to cancel and I felt really bad, and it was last year on my tour, I lost my voice. Well, what do you do And
then?
I remember messaging my agent and I was like, I feel awful. But as well, I remember I'd lost my voice and I'd cancelled some shows. And she was really understanding, but she was like, I'm sure, obviously she didn't want to, she knew how much I loved doing the show and stuff. She was like, I'm sure you could get through it. And I was like, but this is different. Weirdly, I don't feel as unwell as I did when I've had like tummy problems or like had a bug or whatever, like physically feel better than, but if you haven't got a voice, you can't just push through it. You can't get through it. And you literally might end up doing more damage. So I cancelled a couple of shows and then I did a gig up here in Blythe and I had, I want to say a 15-minute spot, maybe a 20-minute spot. And it was my first gig back after I'd cancelled a few of these shows. And I remember I took my little bottle of water on stage, and I got about 10 minutes in, and when you feel the tickle, and I thought, oh, that's come back. And so I coughed, and the second I coughed, it was like all the germs in my body went, go, go. And I coughed and I coughed. I couldn't stop coughing. It was like my throat had dried up, my mouth. I'm having little sips of water. That's making the audience are just like, like this. But then I couldn't talk because I was coughing that much. You know, when you're like, I can't. And I come off. It's the second time in my career. Once was very early doors, but this is the first time and really the latter stages of my career that I've ever had to walk off halfway through. So I was so apologetic. I was like, I'm so sorry. I went, but I couldn't. And they were dead understanding. They were dead nice. I then got upset and I was like, you can dock me fee if you want. You can pay. I only did half my time, so pay us half the fee. And they were like, no, we'll pay your fee. Like, we totally understand. But I had some more tour shows after, and I said, I can't risk that happening, because I got 10 minutes into a set thinking everything was fine, and then my voice just disappeared. Like, I got a little clap from the audience for doing nothing, and I was like, thank you, I feel so brave. Thank you.
That's awful, isn't it? Because that's your tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
I was like, on a physical level, feel way better than I do when I'm like, I've had gigs where I've literally been lay in bed until 10 minutes before I need to leave, and then I drag myself out, and like, so the adrenaline gets you through. But I was like, well, when it's your voice, knackered, like absolutely knackered. Like, I remember when Sam Fender had cancelled shows because of stuff with his voice, and people in the comments not getting it. And I was like, I know I am not global superstar singing sensation, but as someone who uses our voice, totally understand why sometimes you've just got to make a call and be like, nah, can't do this.
But that happens a lot, especially with singers, because that's your tool, isn't it? I was watching the Noah Khan doc on Netflix, very good, by the way. And he had issues with his voice because he's just been singing and touring. 260 tours or dates in a year or something like that, or 2 years. Yeah. So imagine singing at the top of everything all the time.
I always lose my voice towards the end of the Edinburgh Fringe because it's 26 days, our show every day, other gigs on top. And I'll always say, people be like, how can you lose your voice just from an hour of talking? I'm like, but it's a lot.
Oh,
it's a lot. And you're not just normally, you're projecting and you're shouting and you're
I wondered when I did the thing with Cy before Christmas. You give us like a spray in the green room.
The nominee throat spray.
Yeah.
That got me through the rest of my tour.
Yeah, and I was like, what's this? I didn't even question it. I just went, all right.
It's not officially called Nummy Throat Spray, but I christened it the Nummy Throat Spray when I was very poorly last year, and that got me through the last few of my tour shows, the Nummy Throat Spray.
Because that was my fear, that I'd start coughing or something. Yeah. Because once I start coughing, I can't stop.
And there's nothing like visually nice to watch about someone coughing up a lung on stage either, is there? Like, I was like, I had a hairball, like I was a cat or something. I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed.
Like a cat. It'd be good performance. Or you should just do one full set of half an hour. I've just been on stage coughing.
God, I'd probably win some kind of award for that.
I would be, award-winning Fringe show. Cat lady.
Cat lady.
Cat lady, yeah.
I really wanted the lad I've been seeing at the minute. He likes comedy, but like hasn't been at the Fringe, stuff like that. And I was like, I should bring you up to the Fringe. And you went, no. And I was like, oh, like, you know, I've come and seen things you like. And you went, it's nothing to do with the fact I don't like comedy. You went, every time you talk about the Fringe, you'll say, oh, I saw this amazing show, and then this guy got his dick out. And I'm like, yeah, that does tend to be he's like, I've not heard you talk about a good show at the Fringe. And then also the following sentence not being, someone was naked, there was a penis flying around, or somebody like showed their ass all to the whole room. And I was like, that is the Fringe, to be honest. Yeah, fair. I can see why that would sound intimidating. He was like, you like some weird stuff. And I was like, but weirdly enough, I don't. I'm not one for the really like wacky avant-garde stuff, but it does just happen that some of the best stuff I've seen at the Fringe tends to involve someone having his penis out.
Second clip.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Have you been to the Fringe before?
Nah.
I've
never
been. I've never been. It's just like anything goes there, so you got various levels.
Yeah, so like I always say to people how you should approach going to the Fringe. You should, fair enough, go see your favourites. Go see so-and-so off the telly or so-and-so who you've seen online. Go and see someone you've never heard of. So like someone, take a chance on someone. Ask, like, message your favourite comedian or look out. Most comedians during the Fringe will post. I do at this, like every Fringe, like a big list of recommendations of everybody. So go and see someone you've not heard of. Go and see something on the free Fringe. Like there's like paid venues where you pay for a ticket. And I started on the free Fringe, and I was like, there's people who saw me on the free Fringe when I was 19 years old, 20 years old, who come and see us now. And I'm so grateful for that, if you know what I mean. Like, people who come and took a punt on this little teenage Geordie girl who probably, let's face it, wasn't very good, but have stuck with us over the years and, like, have watched me career. And, like, they mean, like, so much to me, because I'm like, that's what it's about. Like, to me, that's what the Fringe is about. And that's why it stresses me out so much, the way things are going, with how inaccessible it is, how, like, unaffordable it is. Not just for a lot of the discussions about it being unaffordable talk about performers, which it is, but then I think about the audience. I think about people like me dad and, you know, your everyday people who, like, working class folk who would come up for a little day out in Edinburgh on the train. If they can't afford to come anymore, and the only people who can afford to come and watch shows are, like, posh people, and then they might only like a certain kind of show, and then as a result, that only that kind of comedy booms and only that comedian grows. And I just think of the people who come and took a punt on teenage me, and I'm like, that's the people I don't want to be priced out of,
of course,
coming to the Fringe. But it is fantastic. Like, I've been lucky enough to do, like, a lot of the festivals around the world, but there's nothing like Edinburgh. You can see shows from, like, 11 in the morning, 10 in the morning till, like, 2 o'clock in the morning sort of thing. There's just stuff on all day. I absolutely love it. I'm such, like, a comedy fan as well, and I'll always make a big list of everyone who I want to see, and I go seeing as much stuff as I can. I've got flyers from people's shows over the years and stuff, and they're all in scrapbooks, and I just think it's so... And I think we're quite lucky being in Newcastle that we're quite close to it. Like, I can imagine if you live further down south and stuff, like, it's a bit of a trek to come up, but I'm like, you can go and do a day trip. You can absolutely go and do a day trip. Like, it is fantastic. It is so good. I love it. And the Maryland boys are going back up this year.
It's kind of world renowned because you get all the American comedians come over and do a stint over there as well. So
I always remember, so I would have been, again, maybe like 19, and I was up doing a play with some of my mates at uni, and there was this comedian called Bo Burnham, and this would have been 2014. I was at uni before I'd I'd started doing stand-up, but I wasn't, like, you know, my career wasn't, I was just doing one mic gig sort of thing. And I think I'd only been gigging about a year, so maybe it was 2013. And knowing you're thinking, I like this stand-up thing, but is it ever going to take us anywhere, all of this? And there was these massive big posters for Bo Burnham, like a huge big poster. He was doing the big venue in Edinburgh, which is the Pleasance Grand. It's like 750 seats. And I thought, I'd like to go, but this is back when I wouldn't do things by myself. Now, I do everything by myself, and I love it. But back then, I was like, couldn't possibly see a show by myself. Oh no, like, what will people think if I'm sitting by myself? Babe, no one knows you're by yourself. No one cares. And then one of the lads in the play was like, I've heard this Bo Burnham guy might be, like, quite cool. And I was like, I'd love to go. And I remember going, and it was the first time I'd been in a big venue at the Fringe, because at the time I was a student, so everything I saw was on the free Fringe, because I couldn't afford to go see paid stuff. So it's my first time in, like, a big paid venue. And I swear to God, I sat on the edge of my seat with my mouth open for the whole thing. I don't know if you're, like, familiar with, like, what he does.
No, too, he plays music as well.
Yeah, and he made a special in the pandemic that was all filmed inside his house. Yeah. And he filmed it and edited and everything. Yeah. He's very clever, and he's young as well, and especially like, he's my age now, but, you know, like, back then, very young, and I remember I sat there and I just thought that, like, I got chills watching it, and I thought, I want to do this. And I want people to feel like this when they're in my show. I want people to feel excited. I want people to feel creative. I want people to be like, yeah, shit, like, I'm going to go for it. Like, even though his comedy is completely different to me and I could never do what he does, watching him made me think, 100% this is what I want to do. I want to do this. I love this. I absolutely adore it. He's the only person I've ever been starstruck in front of. He brought his show to Tyne Theatre, which when I tell people about that now, they're like, how did I miss Bo? Because obviously he's a mega star now. People are like, how did I miss Bo Burnham coming to Newcastle? I'm like, because it was 2014, it was a long time ago. And me and my mate went, and it was the same show I saw in Edinburgh. And I loved it. I adored it. And he was doing a meet and greet after. We're queued to meet him. And it is the ugliest picture of me that's ever been taken in my life. And it was in the era of all the Instagram filters. So it's filtered beyond belief. I look like a frog. But you can see I'm nervous. Like, I'm only about 19. In my head, I was like, I was going to tell him how I did stand up, how, like, I really wanted to make a career of it, how I thought I was going to pack it all in. Then I watched his show and it really motivated us to do it because he's young and he's done it. And I distinctly remember walking up to him and he was like, hey, nice to meet you. And I was like, I really like the show. And that was it. Like, that was it. And in the picture you can see I'm like, like this shy little girl. So only person I've ever been remotely starstruck in front of, but again, I think of that experience I had at the Fringe of seeing him and just going, yeah, like, why not just go for it? The worst that can happen. And I even say this to people now. I'm like, if my career was to disappear overnight, I'd be sad, obviously, but I'm so proud of everything I'm done. So proud of it. And I'll like talk to people about it now, and I forget how young I was when I did a lot of the stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, like it's cool that I did that, but it's even fucking cooler that I did it as a young working class woman from the Northeast. I did the Sydney Opera House, and when I was 24 or 25, and I didn't get told until a few days before. I was over doing Sydney Comedy Festival. So you're doing I was doing my own show, but I was also doing like little spots on different gigs. And I get very anxious about not knowing what I'm doing. So I was going from Melbourne to Sydney, and I was like, please, could I have my running order, my itinerary, where I'm going to be? I would just really like to know. And she was like, oh, sorry, yeah, I'll send it over to you. And I saw on that sheet, Sydney Opera House. And I was like, oh, that's a typo. That is a mistake. And I'm sat in this little hostel in Melbourne. And I remember emailing back being like, is that like the Sydney Opera House? Because you know, like the O2 in London, there's the O2, but then there's the little O2, the baby O2.
Sydney's Opera House.
Yeah, so I was like, is there a pub called the Opera House? Like, what's happening here?
Sydney's Opera House.
I was like, there's no possible way that I could be at the Sydney, and it was, they were doing like a gala show. And I'd been booked for this gala show at the Sydney Opera House. And I remember getting there, and I was so nervous. There's not a single picture of me on stage that night. There's only one picture, and you wouldn't even know it was the Sydney Opera House unless I told you. It's me in the toilets with a glass of wine the size of my head after I've been on, and I looked dead proud of myself because I was too embarrassed to be like, can someone take a picture? Can someone do this? And I remember there was a buffet of meats and cheeses, which I was like, get me in there, get me in among none of the other comedians are touching it. And I was like, hey, I'll like filling my face with ham. Can't remember the 5 minutes on stage. It flew by. But I remember I was still quite new and quite like breaking through at the time. So the Aussie comics were all sticking together. The British comics were there who were a bit more, and when you don't know where to put yourself. So that's why I went to the toilet with a glass of wine, and I just sat in the toilet sipping my little glass of wine. Like, I've just been on stage at the Sydney. It's the most me picture that there could possibly be. I was like, I've just done the bloody Sydney Opera House. And until then, I'd not really got to travel because I'd put everything on hold for comedy. Everything else came second to comedy. And I was like, just done the Sydney Opera House. When I went out to India, I'd never been further than Spain. That was the first gig I did like internationally, and until then I'd never been further than Spain. And I remember getting to the airport and I was like, I'd never been on a flight that was longer than 2 hours. I was like, so will this flight be like, like 6, like 7, 8 hours? And she was like, Lauren, this flight's like 14 hours or whatever. And I was like, well, we've got to change flights. What happens to our bags? Like I'd never had to change like all that kind of thing. I was like, so do we get our bags and then get on the net? And she was like, no, it's all checked through. And I was like, wow, this is mad. This is insane. And I just remember like being picked up at the airport when we landed in India, and I was just like, I'm from Kenton. Like, this is insane. I'm the little shy kid in Kenton who would sometimes try and crack jokes, and people wouldn't laugh because she was the nerdy, clever one. And, people don't grasp comedy at that age. And I was just like, okay. And I thought, I've now been flown to India to do jokes and do stand-up. I went to Mumbai, Delhi, Goa, Hyderabad. And there might have been one more place. Bangalore. Yeah. So it was... But I'd literally, before then, I'd been to Spain, and it was such like, there's a little bit, I was so grateful for the opportunity. There's a little bit of his wishes I could have that opportunity now, because I think I was so young and so like fish out of water sort of thing that I maybe didn't push myself as far out my comfort zone as I would have liked to.
I guess as well, you just feel like you're sort of like parachuting into those places for the thing.
Exactly. I always remember going out to New Zealand a few months after that. I did India, then went to Istanbul, and then it was like Australia, New Zealand, Canada. And where I'd been put up in New Zealand, it was like what I now know to be more like an apartment room in a hotel. So I had like, a living room kitchen, I had a separate bedroom, I had a separate... At the time, I'm living in a shitty flat share in London. And I was like, this is nicer than the flat I live in London. And I always remember I heard one of the comedians complaining about the accommodation, and I just thought, let me never get like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me never, ever take anything for granted. And I don't think I ever have. I'm always so grateful if someone's putting us up somewhere, if I'm getting an opportunity. And I remember this comedian sneering. And it was, if it had been shit accommodation, I would have been like, yeah, fair enough. It was lovely. It was really nice. And I thought, oh, never let me forget. Never let my feet go too far from the floor sort of thing. Like always, because it really got my back up at the time. And I was just like, firstly, that's not nice. That's rude. But also I was like, if you've been flown to New Zealand and put up in this, like put up anywhere, you're turning your nose up at it. I would never have got to come to New Zealand if it hadn't been for comedy. So put me in a shed and I'll be happy. Like,
early life, early career intervention. How's not being arsehole?
Exactly.
It's bizarre because you think, why don't you just use this as material for later on? If it's bad, it's kind of, it's a story to tell later on.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like when I did this little road show around Victoria in Australia, which was great because I felt like I got to go to the bits of Australia you wouldn't probably normally go to. It was like rural, smaller town bits of Australia. And the accommodation, the rule was you always put up in the best accommodation available in that place. But obviously in some of the places, the best accommodation was maybe the only accommodation. And fair enough, I was young, maybe I'd think different now. I still loved it. I was like, oh my God, I'm in a motel. I feel like I'm in an American film. This is incredible. Like, I just took everything in, because at the end of the day, I was like, I'm not paying for it. Totally. I'm not paying for it. Yeah. Absolutely not. Like,
I suppose it depends how you take it because you're like, oh, it's exciting, isn't it? At the time. So
exactly.
Remember we went to Bakersfield once and it was like probably a motel on the top floor, like in a movie.
Oh yeah.
It was sort of like gunshot in the background. Woo! It was one of those. So my wife,
what was it like? Now, sort of girlfriend in your bed.
Girlfriend at the time. We went up and she made us like push the settee against the door. It was like, it was like nothing. It was like a pizza shop, that was it.
You push a settee, but there's a body under it and you just pushed it back again.
I did have one once.
The rats pulled it back.
That maybe I should have complained about. I got offered, again, I was young, got offered to do this gig out in Brussels, I think it was. And he was like, you get your accommodations covered. And I was like, cool, amazing. But he didn't make it clear it was in his mum's house. And like, I was still very taking everything in my stride, and luckily the comedian who I was going out with, I knew very well, the other comedian who was on the lineup. But I remember thinking, this could have been, so I think his mum wasn't there at the time, but I was like, imagine if I hadn't, I think I found out quite close to the trip, so it wasn't like just dropped on us, but I was like, imagine if I hadn't found out, and I'd be like, this is a funny little hotel, like this is very, very personalised. But again.
Oh man, honestly, yeah.
No.
I think it's time.
It is time.
It's such a shame because we could talk for hours.
I've got a title for my biography. Filling me face with ham. Filling me face with ham is perfect for your travels. It's just kind of open to this point. I had to say that. It's been in my head.
I do love me meats and cheeses.
Always pleases. Do you reckon?
They do.
Pleases.
I saw that on a t-shirt the other day with Bob Motor's face, and I was like, I'm going to have to.
You watched it? It's
so
actually
good.
really good.
So good.
The first, last one laughing.
Oh, it's genius. Fantastic.
But that one.
Oh, Sam is so like, you can't. He's one of those guys, like, is he putting this on or not? He's just so deadpan and he's odd.
Well, someone asked me the other day, and I was like, I first met Sam, again, pre-pandemic. I judge my life now as pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. I don't have time to distinguish yet. I'm like, it was either pre-D or post-D. Pre-panny D. So I definitely must have met him at Latitude Festival, pre-pandemic, and I was like, I don't think he's putting it on. Lovely lad, but I was like, I always... From when I first met him, I was like, oh, you're different. You're not afraid to be yourself. Yeah. So when people now are like, it's a character, I'm like, no, I don't think it is.
Because I've watched him on a couple of interviews afterwards and he barely moves out of that.
Yeah, so funny.
I saw him on panel before and 8 out of 10 cats and you go, is this a character? Is it not? But he didn't laugh that easy as well. So that's a skill set completely. Not to laugh.
I very rarely see great telly now, but that is a great program.
But I love the fact that production will love this. It's one day in a house and you get a full series out of it, which is great. But it's great for you guys as well because you can go on it. And it's one day, and you get a decent paycheck as well.
Exactly.
You can do it if you laugh. Are you a laugher?
See, this is the thing with stand-up. I feel like my fella said this the other day. He went, for someone who's a professional comedian, your sense of humour is so stupid. And I said, but I think that's the thing because I'm so used to seeing incredible stand-up that I think maybe I'm a bit like desensitized to it, which is very like, oh, my steak's too juicy, my lobster's too buttery, but like I find it very hard to laugh out loud. But someone pronounces a word wrong or someone farts and I'm like, that is the funniest thing in the world. This lad pronounced, he accidentally called himself a bog instead of a boy. And to this day, I'm like, you're a horrible little bog. Silly little bog. And it cracks us up. And he's like, you've got 2 Edinburgh Awards. And I'm like, they can't take them away. I've checked. They can't take them away. No, they are mine forever. But the things that proper crack me up are just the but I think it's because when I watch stand-up, I watch it with such a analytical, like critical head that I just love stuff that's a bit silly.
What happens on Last One Laughing though. It's always the everyday humour.
Yeah.
Like I think on the first series
makes you laugh. You try not to laugh, you want to laugh.
The one that got me this series was the animal noises.
Yeah.
And again, if I went to see that in a show, I'd be like, that's not for me. But just like off the cuff like that, I was like, that's funny, man.
The stage routines were phenomenal.
On the first series, when Bob Mortimer sat on it, sat on the chair, and the chair creaked or something like that, and he went, "Oh." And that was it. Yeah. She was just off.
Yeah, but it was just it is just that. But it's the fact they sit down trying to make each other laugh, then they've got to walk away from themselves.
Yeah,
and say, you make myself laugh. It is. It's fantastic.
The Ramesh one with his eye and everything.
Oh, I know.
Oh, the jokes about it. But then everyone had to read the card. The insult. That was brilliant. That
genius.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, and David Mitchell's routine was great. Just him doing a song and dance.
Yeah,
it was just it's the side of people you don't get to see because it's not in their normal routine.
Well, I went to a comedian's wedding last year. And the best man was also a comedian. He did his speech last, and it was basically like a roast. And I just thought, you are so wise to put his speech last, because it was one of the best things ever. We were like crying with laughter. And I just thought, I'm so lucky to do what I do, to know the people I do. And just, I think that's it. I feel so like fulfilled to be, even just sat at a wedding, watching my mate do a really, really good, funny speech. And I'm like, that's the kind of people I've picked the right people to have in my life. This is
definitely.
This is the good stuff.
Cool. Have you done any more podcasts? Have you been on other ones? Any comedian ones?
I did. I remember doing, the Richard Herron Leicester Square one.
Okay.
And I did it during the pandemic over Zoom on the day that the van of stuff was arriving, because me and my ex had broke up and I lived in London with him. And it was the day the van of stuff was arriving back. And I remember doing this podcast being like, I was in my high vis from Morrison's, and I was like, I've gone back to work, but look, I get a high vis. I'm actually handling everything really well. Tee-hee-hee, my boyfriend broke up with me on April Fool's, but it's okay. And I remember coming off the podcast thing, and that was so much fun. And then I went downstairs and all my stuff had arrived, and I just went,
Lauren, how's your life?
I was like, oh, God, checking everything. The most passive-aggressive thing. He'd sent everything back, bless him. And I was like, fair play. But he sent back our shared calendar. And I was like, well, 1, we're not together. 2, all these plans are cancelled with the pandemic. Why did you send it back? I don't want this. I don't want it.
You set fire at the van.
Oh, I should have done. Put it in a little bonfire
Just
in the garden.
Calendar.
Put it on Twitter.
Didn't happen.
That's not real fire.
It's
She never even had a boyfriend anyway.
Close. I'm going to give you this menu. Well, hang on. You were reaching for something there. Top 3.
Comedy.
Top 3 comedians.
Yeah.
Or top 3 comedians. Ross Noble.
Yeah.
Right,
hands down, number 1. Just went this again, an example of someone who's just so different to what I do, but makes us like cry with laughter, just silly, like, and also a very nice man, because when I was in Perth a couple of years ago, tickets to his show had sold out, and I put on Twitter, and I wasn't hankering for a free ticket. I didn't tag him in it, but I was like, if anyone knows any tickets coming available for Ross Noble, and someone who he knew saw it, passed it on to him, he got in touch, he sorted us a ticket. He also asked if I wanted to meet up after, and the two were sat chatting for like a couple hours, and he was so nice, really nice. And then I mentioned I had tickets to see him in Newcastle with me dad, and I was like, my dad's going to be so jealous I've met you. And he was like, come say hello. And that is my also mark of a good comedian, is how nice they are with my parents.
Yes.
And he was very nice with my dad. My dad really liked him, thinks they're friends now. Number 2 would be Billy Connolly.
Yeah.
Look, I feel like you can't.
Every year was a Billy Connolly DVD in our house. We cried off the sofa laughing.
I feel like even if you think you're not influenced by him, you're influenced by someone who's influenced by him 100%. Like,
he's the king of storytelling, I think.
So good. So good.
Again, you talk about the Morrison's thing, right?
Yeah.
He was relatable.
Yeah.
He talked about working in shipyards. He talked about, you know what I mean? So
I got to see him at City Hall. I want to say a few years ago, but it was the High Horse tour, which I think is the last tour he did. And he had no support. He came out. I swear down he did best part of like 2 hours. There must have been an interval, but it feels like maybe there wasn't. And then off, no encore. And I was like, that's how you do it. That's how you know you're shit hot. You don't need an opener. You're not fanning around with an encore. He has all my gold. Done. Off. And I'm so pleased I got to see him, because I don't think I will get to see him again. So he's number 2. And I would have to put it number 3. Or it's a toss-up between Catherine Ryan and Sarah Millican, because they've both... Sarah Millican is obviously just massively being a woman from the Northeast doing this. Massively, massively inspired us. And again, was very nice to us. The day I got nominated in Edinburgh, she sent me a message and she was like, your show today will probably be weird. That's not, and it's because what happens is when you get nominated in Edinburgh, if your show hasn't already sold out, everyone goes, all right, so you're one of the best shows, are you? Prove it. Prove it. So what you find is you then, on the best day of your professional life, you have a horrible show because there's a room full of people going, maybe laugh them.
Arms folded, huh?
Maybe laugh. One of the 6 best shows at the Fringe. I don't think so. And I'm like, oh, okay. So she gave us a heads up about that. She was like, you might have a weird show. Like, it's not a reflection of you, all lovely. This. And I thought that's, again, she didn't have to take her time out to do that. So she's lovely. And again, she's another one who's very nice. I think I'd seen like nearly every one of her tours. And then I didn't have tickets for one of them. I think I didn't know I was going to be in Newcastle or whatever. So commented on a post or a message there, and I was like, oh, I have an amazing show in Newcastle. This is like the first one in years I want to be into. And she was like, do you want 2 tickets? And so I brought my dad, and again, I think maybe we'd not met. And she said, come and say hello in the interval. And knowing you think, is this a prank? Are you just saying this? Are you just saying this? Like when people say, let's hang out, and then they don't want to hang out. So me and my dad went, sure enough, and she spent the whole interval chatting to me and my dad, which meant a lot to me, because this was only a few years ago. So I was well into my comedy career at this point, and I just thought, I know what I'm like when I do, and I'm nowhere near as good as Sarah Millican, but I probably wouldn't want to chat to anyone in the interval because I'd want that time to like chill out, whatever. Whole interval chatting to me and my dad, and I thought it was so nice. She like gave with the time. So she's really my good books. But then for a similar level, Catherine Ryan, because I got tour support for her when I was quite young, and that really helped sort of get us in front of more people, and just really grateful for that opportunity. And again, I think she was somebody who sat and watched her as like a young woman in comedy. And I always remember I used to dress not scruffy for gigs, but I would, anyone who saw us in the early days, I would literally come on stage in like a leather jacket and like a beanie hat. I wanted to be sort of like covered up and not look too try hard or whatever. When I got her tour support, I said, I'm so happy because I was wearing like a dress and like how I would like to dress. She went, what are you talking about? And I said, well, because I know you dress really nice for gigs, so that means I feel like I can dress nice for gigs. Like when I'm doing the clubs and stuff, like, God, I couldn't wear like a dress. And she went, dress how you want to dress for work. And it's such like, it might sound so simple and so obvious, but hearing that at like what, 21, 22 years old, being like, no, you dress how you want to dress for work. And I was like, yeah, I will dress how I want to dress for work. So then I started wearing like my boots and my skirts and like and now that has shifted the other way, and I like to wear Adidas and baggy jumpers. But that really stuck in my mind from being quite young, of being like, oh yeah, why am I dressing a certain way? Because I feel like, oh, if I turn up to the clubs, comedy clubs in a dress, people are going to say I'm trying too hard or just trying to like distract the audience with how I look and stuff. No, dress how you want to dress for work. She was like, why wouldn't you dress nicely for work? And I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I dress nicely for work? And ever since then, I've always been like, I'll dress how I want to dress for work.
Yeah, that's good though, because you feel comfortable. It's you, you're confident in yourself.
And even when I was in my era of wanting to be a bit more dressed up for gigs, if there was ever a time I didn't want to, I wouldn't, because I'd be like, I can't be arsed today. I just want to wear a big baggy jumper, and that's what I'll wear. That's absolutely fine. But it was just a real simple bit of advice that stuck with us for a long time. We've been like, yeah, this is a job, and I can dress how I want for my job, and I'm the boss of my job as well, 100%.
It's a top 4 today.
So it's a top 4.
It's definitely top 4. Well, I mean, it's top 3, isn't it? And neck and neck going in. Yeah. I want to ask you as well, because of the comebacks, who's king or queen of the comebacks?
Ooh.
Because Catherine Ryan is super duper fast on bang straight back at you. And I watched your clip about the guy, when you made Jimmy Carr laugh. You just owned that. You absolutely handed him.
Threw him under the bus there, right? So when we got booked for it, you have to try out for a roast battle, or you had to try out for it. So we tried out at this comedy club in London, and obviously we sat and we like wrote our jokes together and stuff. We got booked for the show and we were like, yeah. And then the producers were like, but we're going to separate you. And we were like, no, like what? And they were like, well, we want it to be spontaneous, all of this, and each other's jokes now. And we were like, we'll write new jokes. We were like, you've booked us based off the strength of us as a pair. Like, you are making such a mistake if you don't let us go on the show together. So they did. They let us go on the show together. They were like, whatever you do, don't write your jokes together. And we were like, of course we did. Of course we did, because it makes it a better roast, because we could structure it like a dance, like a this. What I didn't tell them was all the comebacks I had up my sleeve. I kept that bit to myself. I was like, well, I still want to win. So you can see it in his eyes. Like, I've watched it back a few times and you can see him thinking, can tell me
he did,
this
why? His weakness, he laughed and then he paused and then you had him. Do you know what I mean? Because he came back with something and then you just had it. It was like, bang.
Exactly. Because I was thinking the same.
Pistols,
I was like, he could do the same. I thought he could throw me under the bus. He might change his jokes. He's in his background. He did a lot of improv, so he's very fast and quick on his feet as well. So I was like, Tom might have like comebacks and stuff. So I need to make sure I've got these comebacks on, sort of thing. And like, I remember this, I was like shaking because it was quite early in the set, and I just thought in the room like erupted, and I thought, if I don't win this, but I think we got told after for the following series they used ours as an example of like, this is how you do it. And they were like, but whatever you do, don't write your jokes together. And we were like, don't write your jokes together.
It's just the whole fact. You must be feeling that, because that is like insider kind of stuff. You must have felt, right, you back, you forth, and then he laughed, he stopped, he paused. That means he hasn't got one locked in. So then you're all right. I'm keeping that in my backpack for you, do you know what I mean? And then he came back with something, and then you use that against them, the pause against them. I'm like,
and I also knew on like a sort of technical level as well. I think that joke was about me having little boobs or something.
It was the little boobs.
And I knew
thing.
he had another joke about me having little boobs later in the set. So I thought, if I can slam you at the start, your next joke loses all its power. So I was very sneak. We sort of structured. We wrote our jokes separately, but then we structured it so that the jokes like bounced off each other. But then I went and was like, I'm going to make sure that I've got something to say for everything that you've got to say, like everything.
But the comeback about his dad, do you know what I mean? It was the pants thing, wasn't it?
I was quite impressed with that, because that was off the cuff.
Phenomenal. But it felt like it was off the cuff, but you were just like,
exactly.
I just said so fast. I'm like, that's unreal, that.
I think I must have like found my feet with it a bit by then, because it was going well. And I remember thinking, I'm pleased I've got some like off the cuff things in too. But I loved doing that.
Is it one of them when it's in the pocket? Because you got to be in the pocket. Everything just flows and you're just in the moment. And it just, everything slots in.
And that's why I think with something like a roast, I know some people don't like roast and they're like, oh, it's mean, it's bullying. And I'm like, but it's not, because you're agreeing to do it all. And I think roasts work best with two people who know each other. So that's why me and him really fought to be paired with each other on the show, because we're friends. We genuinely know each other. We know where the limit is. Like, we know how far we can push things, and we know neither of us going to cry about it afterwards. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose, or do you?
Well, we did it again. It's some comedy festival, which was ran by Comedy Central. Yeah. So we did our roast again, and he won on that night, and the crowd booed.
Class.
And
Still
I was like, well, I'm going to take that as a win. So
that's brilliant. That I had to say something about that. It was phenomenal.
I loved doing that.
Because then you mentioned Catherine Ryan. I'm like, she is so sharp.
Yeah,
she's great at comeback.
She's very quick, very fast. I really love her. Yeah.
It's just comedians have just a knack. There's no gaps at all. If there's any gaps, you ghost.
Yeah.
You know? So you can't, why people heckle? Why would you heckle somebody? Are you mental? Do you know what I mean? You're going to be destroyed unless you want to be destroyed. I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, so pick from the menu, please. Lauren, anything you want.
I'll do my last meal because it'll make people angry.
Oh, will it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm interested.
I think this is why I've never been booked for off menu.
Right, so this is a tricky one. We're going to throw a spanner in the works. Yeah. 2 courses only.
2 courses, fine by me.
All right.
Fine by me. So my genuine favourite meal in the world, I have been accused of this being rage bait. It's not rage bait. I started a thing, I think it was not last year, but the year before. My New Year's resolution was I was going to have a jacket potato every single Friday. because I was like, your New Year's resolution doesn't have to be a big goal in life.
Where did that resolution come from?
I feel like I was like, I'm quite happy with everything else. So I was like, I don't want to change anything. I was like, I'm going to have a jack potato every Friday. I feel like I don't have enough jack potatoes. So I did, but I would post a picture of it and put it on there. And I did not realise my jack potato was weird until around this point. This is how I've always eaten it. This is how my dad eats it. I don't think it's normal. So, and it's my favourite meal. And when I came back from India, it was the first thing I asked to have when I came back, because I'd like not been like eating and skipping meals and stuff with being like travelling around so much. And I was like, I can't wait to come back, have my jack potato. So you put your jack potato in the oven, take it out after an hour and 15 minutes, scoop out the jacket potato, scoop it out. People are like, what do you do with the skins? In the bin. Do not.
You get rid of the skins?
I get rid of the skins. So immediately that angers people. If they have gone crispy,
I was with you until when you scooped out, because I do that sometimes.
If they have gone crispy, I might save them for some like garlic mayo, but a lot of the time I can't be bothered with the skins. Okay. I also have 2 potatoes as well, so I'll have 2 potatoes. Scoop them out, butter on the potato, grated cheese on top of the potato, 2 tins of tuna with vinegar, not mayonnaise, mix. I then have the tuna on the side and the cheese on the top of the potato. And it used to be I would sort of eat them like a forkful of potato and cheese, and then I would scoop up a little bit of tuna. Now I am more inclined to mix it all together sometimes, but that is my favourite meal in the world, dream meal, absolutely adore it. Like I've said, if I ever went on off menu, that would be my meal, but I think they might kick us off. So like I would have to save that as an honourable mention. So that, like, I love it. It's like my comfort meal. I really I've had to make one for someone the other week. Got to be separate, and the mixing is very much on my terms.
Depends on how you feel per scoop.
Exactly. It used to be I was like, no, I'll have a scoop of potato and a little bit of tuna, and then the other day I was like, what if I just went mad?
Your hand trembling like that.
I was like, I might mess with the equilibrium here of the potato. But I love it. But I also like on a pizza ham and tuna, which I did not think was a weird pizza topping until my birthday this year. Potato Gate was already in full force with people being like, your potato makes me feel physically unwell. And then I went out for pizza with my dad for my birthday, and I said, can I have a margarita with ham and tuna, please? And she just went, what? I said, with ham and tuna. And she went, nobody has ever asked me for that. And my dad was like,
what's wrong with your potato?
I know.
If you put pineapple on, tuna's got to be accepted. You know what I mean? Surely.
I think this is, people have just got beef with tuna. And I'm like, leave tuna alone. Tuna's done nothing to you.
T-shirt, that.
Beef with tuna.
Beef with tuna. Well,
I also thought the appendix story was a great greetings card.
Yeah.
For your range of merch.
For my range of merch that's coming out with my
Valentine's cards.
What's the shape of an appendix, though?
Yeah.
The shape of an appendix? Because I'm thinking a little cute kidney, you know, like little, he's got little legs and that.
What looks like a heart?
Like moles drawn to the heart. Like a cartoon kidney.
I'm missing a trick. I need to go into.
Go for that. Go
merch,
for the merchandise.
I'll tell you what, there's always a collaboration in everything we do.
Exactly.
The thing is, when did you discover this potato
I've
thing?
had that since I was a kid. Like, I always remember,
is it mixing the foods
on
together?
On a Saturday, we'd sometimes have picky bits. So we'd have jack potatoes in the oven, and then you'd put like other nibbles in. And my dad would always have a jack potato, but then he would make up a bowl of tuna, and he would have tuna with his potato. So I think I've just absorbed that. But I love it. But I can't say I had many jack potatoes when I lived in London, because if I'd used the oven in my shared kitchen for an hour 15, I think there would have been hell on. I think people would have been like, what is she doing? So it was only really when I came back to Newcastle and when I publicly publicised how I eat my potato, that caused out. Someone messaged us the other day and he was like, every now and then I forget about your potato and then I remember it and it makes me mad. And I was like, I'm sorry for traumatising you.
Oh, yeah, sending him a birthday card.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. It was just kind of, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What do you throw the skins in the bin for?
I'll put the skins back in to crisp up.
Yeah.
Then I make like sort of mashed potato out the middle and put it back in the skins.
I'm on board with that.
So, yeah.
Thanks for corned beef.
I was going to say, I've had it with corned beef and the corned beef goes crispy on the top. That's nice. I do like that.
It's textures, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's why I like the potato and the tuna and the cheese, because it's all kind of similar texture. I'm a weird one with textures when it comes to food, and I'm like, everything is safe.
But you've got your acid from the tuna, vinegar.
Yeah, all right, okay, yeah.
I get that.
Well, look, if you're going to put it on chips, a potato is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tuna and chips.
Because then you would still have cheesy chips with vinegar on, wouldn't you? So it's kind of
cheesy chips.
I love
cheesy
vinegar.
chips with tuna might be nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Cheesy chips
Tuna on first, then
Curveball.
cheese. Grill that a little bit.
Nice.
Don't say
But that's
why not.
nice.
Exactly, it's the same
Got a
thing.
couple of jalapenos.
Exactly.
Just the potato cut differently. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, so, yeah, because I'm thinking, like, what's the king of paninis? That's tuna cheese. Isn't
Tuna
it?
and cheese,
Tuna
yeah.
cheese,
This is
that's
when
a
people get
good
adverse
combo,
about
like.
tuna and cheese. I'm like, you'd have a
Don't
tuna
get
and
that,
cheese
it's perfect.
panini.
You would.
100%.
Yeah. So it should work with the other thing.
I've told you
So therefore,
people-
on the pizza, tuna cheese.
Yeah, people have just got beef with cheese. And beef with cheese,
Might
beef
lean
with
next
tuna.
snack, I know.
We're on team tuna.
Yeah.
Team tuna.
I'm on the PR team for tuna at the minute.
Team tuna.
Team Tuna crew t-shirt.
So it's an army of tuna. Sorry.
What's your second course?
Second course, it would be, I love a cookie dough. Nice warm cookie dough with a little bit of ice cream. I like a hot and a cold.
Hot and a cold.
That's what I think is the perfect pudding combination. Hot apple crumble, cold custards. That's pudding has
Would you
to
do
be.
ice cream or not?
Mm,
It melts, man.
oh, I don't know.
A cold melt is kind of vanilla.
Maybe, yeah.
And that crumble.
As long as it's hot and cold. As long as it's hot and cold. I had to think there. I was like,
Nice one. Yeah. I'm just thinking, what else? What's the combos?
What,
of
hot and
the
cold?
Hot and cold. Aye. Would you do anything else with like a mains hot and cold? You wouldn't, would you?
ooh.
Cold mayonnaise or pizza?
Eh? Oh, what dip?
chips,
Sorry,
yeah, like a
sorry.
dip.
Sorry, I'm like smothered
Like
on.
a mound, like a potato, like a mashed potato mound of mayonnaise.
Oh my word, no. I tell you what,
Breadsticks in it and that.
I'll tell you what we try with. We never tried this. They do it at Nando's, right? They've got a sourdough pita with spring onion and melted cheese in the middle. It was very nice. Very nice. The
Oh,
spring
that's
onion.
a curveball. I do love, and Nando's is every comedian's staple.
I love a
Because you know
Nando's.
you can get one. I mean, it's not as cheap as it used to be, but it's so like
You know what you're
tried,
getting.
tested. Know what you're getting.
Know what you're
Quick.
getting. Standard,
Yeah.
quick, reliable.
Oh, the ambassador
Like it.
for Nando's.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Stick a
Colonel
red,
said
stick a red
yes.
chili on me. Yeah, finish the mention, please, Nando's. Yeah, that's great. I love it. Let's go another question, or we're going to do the last one.
Do the last
Let's
one.
do the last one.
Yeah.
What's your Greg's order?
Oh, so it's changed in recent years. I used to be a big chicken bake. Used to love a chicken bake, but I have since had a shift to a sausage, bean and cheese melt. I really like a sausage, bean and cheese melt, and I'm quite lucky that I have two Gregs within walking distance of me, which should be the way wherever you live in the northeast.
It's the way.
That's
Well,
how
I
you
think
know
you
you
can't
do
avoid
have
it
a
though, can you?
northeast
Yeah,
postcode.
yeah.
So I like a sausage, bean and cheese melt. I like the jammy heart biscuit, because
Yes.
again, cold biscuit, hot cup of tea, nice.
Yeah.
And
Do you dunk?
I do dunk. I like a dunk. And I used to really, well, firstly, bring back the ham and peas pudding stories.
Yes.
Oh, honestly,
Like
I need
that.
somebody who
It's a-
campaigned on that.
Yeah.
It's a classic northeast sandwich. Why is it not?
Why
in
could they take
everywhere?
it away?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
could they take it
Yeah.
away? I love a ham and peas pudding
They
story.
said that nobody was eating it anymore.
I don't think. I think I
I think that's a
disagree.
lie.
Yeah, it's the same as a cheese savoury. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I think it just needs.
The kettle cheese savoury is a half stotty.
A half story.
Yeah.
The ham and peas pudding is a staple. When
Yeah.
you come to the northeast, you know, you can pass the northeast sign. They should just hand you
Yeah.
a ham and peas
cheese.
pudding
Yeah.
story.
Ham and peas pudding sandwich.
Fill your face with ham and peas pudding. That's.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It's marriage made in heaven.
But I do miss that. And I miss, they used to do a really nice fizzy cherry drink. And I love a
Yes,
fizzy
Sam,
cherry
yeah.
drink. And then I couldn't help but notice once that would always be I'd get my pasty, my fizzy cherry drink, and my little, or was it? No, it was cherry. And my little cake. And then when you start to notice something becomes harder to find. And I was like, don't say they're getting rid of
Phasing
it.
it out.
So I had to do the horrible Google one day of, has Greg's discontinued the cherry? And they had. They had.
What made you leap from chicken bake to sausage, bean and cheese?
I think I also went through a bit of a phase of having a lot of chicken soup. And I think
It's a
the
bit chicken
inside of a
soupy,
chicken
isn't it?
bake is quite chicken soupy. So I think maybe I was just like, I'm all souped out. I'm all souped out.
Sometimes you want to change it up. It's like the corned beef gets a bit too.
Yeah.
But I do like a
The
sausage
sausage
bean
roll
and
never gets
cheese.
boring though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am yet to try what Ian did with the steak bake.
This is genius.
Ooh.
Where he, this is from a Michelin star chef.
Uh-huh.
So he,
Nice.
he nibbled. He deliberately said he had to nibble the top off
of
the
the pasty.
steak bake. Then he
Pasty.
pasty, and then he gets the mozzarella dippers.
Ooh.
and puts them inside like a little pitter pocket.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That is genius.
Yeah. It is, isn't it?
I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
I'm going to give it a go. Yeah. I might sew mine back up with a cheese string.
Double cheese. You put some mozzarella in there, just kind of knock it down a bit. Just seal it back up.
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be pulling the strings of mozzarella.
Lovely. Gorgeous.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.